another planet? Is Janet from 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 another planet?
We live in a complicated world, and I believe we, the people, have the right to know what's happening in our towns, cities, and states. The mainstream media does not have our best interest at heart, and I want to share some information from around our great nation so we can fight back by being informed. Join me each week as we go after hours and get behind the scenes to uncover the truth.
Today's digital landscape with the spread of false information can lead to dangerous outcomes. It's crucial for everyone to think critically and verify sources and reflect on the impact of what they share. Let's promote responsible communication to ensure that truth prevails and actions remain rooted in reality.
The opinions you're about to hear on this show are strictly those of the panel.
The following program is rated TV MA LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for After Hours. And tonight I have Christopher joining me this evening. How are you?
Doing good.
Great. Yeah, we've had a real exciting last few days with this whole Fauci not saying a word.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty pathetic, but, you know, that's reality in the world today, huh?
That's the ugly situation.
Did you think that he would do anything other than what you saw him do?
I'll put it to you this way. I was meeting a couple of people that I work with there. And the night before, I sent them a message and I said, I'm not coming, because it's going to cost me $1,000 for flights and a room or the drive up there or whatever. And I said, It's basically a lottery. That's basically buying a lottery ticket and seeing if I can get in the door. And then if I do get in the door, if he's even going to say anything, he's probably going to plead the fifth the whole time. So exactly what I thought was going to happen happened. But I'll add this: the entire time it was going on, every time that the Democrats had the floor and spoke, they were lying, and I was debunking their lies and sending actual pictures of things and reports and all that kind of stuff, explaining that what they were saying was a lie. So I was actively involved sort of in a roundabout way with people that I work with, but not present physically in the room.
Well, the thing is, I didn't get to watch all of it. I tried to. I had a lot of other things I was doing. I tried to watch as much as I could. And a lot of people were sending me like snippets and stuff. So I was trying to watch those after
it was over. But I did catch a few Democrats asking him questions, but I didn't hear him answer them either.
No, they didn't ask questions. All they did was tell him how great he was and then attack the Republican.
Yeah, that's what I said. I remember
Yeah.
him saying a bunch of stuff that was like, "What the hell? What does this have to do with anything?" It was like they were like, uh, you know, like they were putting him over their lap and rubbing his ass or something.
Well, it's
Like
called
a fetish or
filibustering.
something. Yeah, it was pretty pathetic and disgusting, is what I thought it was. But he
Yes.
did have an opening statement. So that's what I didn't understand. I wanted to see if you could explain this to me. When you go there and you have this thing all laid out, right? And then after you sit down and you do all that stuff and you talk and introduce yourself or whatever, and then you don't say anything. You don't answer a single question that they say or ask you, even though they were bringing up, boards and papers and all kinds of stuff. And supposedly he had a big thing of papers in front of him. And he also had his lawyer sitting next to him, which I found out later that he wasn't even supposed to have his lawyer sitting next to him. He was supposed to be sitting behind him because that was Senator Rand Paul, or whatever his name was. It Rand?
Rand, yeah, his father is Ron.
Yeah, I keep getting their names mixed up, but that he was sitting behind it, supposed to be sitting behind him, and he had him taken out. He had him removed because he kept trying to speak or something. I don't remember exactly what it was because I don't understand a lot of the procedures that they do. It seems like in every time they have a thing, people get away with stuff they're not supposed to, or something. But it was just to me, it was just. And then we
Well,
wonder
if you
why we
visit,
waste so much money. You know what I mean?
the
When you
answer to
have
your
that kind of
question is the best thing I can say for the answer to your question is
Mhm.
that you can look at Senator Paul's YouTube page, Senator Hawley's YouTube page, Senator Marino's YouTube page, and different clips where they explain the legal side of pleading the fifth after you've made a statement. Okay,
Mhm.
once you go in there and make a statement, so that's why he's being charged with contempt of Congress. Now, if he gets charged with contempt of Congress outside of the system, because this is something I got from Victor Davis Hanson. He's an excellent constitutional lawyer. He said that the fine's $100,000 and can be a jail sentence of up to 10 years. They did it to Martha McDougal and other people in the past, like during Whitewater. She wouldn't testify about Whitewater, and they did it to other people in the past. So they do it. Now, also, when you're in direct contempt of court, the way his lawyer was, there's a cell downstairs in the Cannon building. That's Congress has the Rayburn, Longworth, Dirksen, and the Cannon building, and the other ones besides Cannon surround the Capitol Dome building, and that's the Cannon building. And in the basement of there, they do have a jail, and they can put you in there indeterminately until you're willing to come upstairs and not be in contempt.
Mhm.
So they're giving everybody in there, they're being lenient with them because that could have been done. They could have said, all right, put him downstairs and we'll see if he wants to comply. Right. And they could have done that even with Fauci. But what
Mhm.
he did is he first he's pardoned. Nothing he says can he be prosecuted for. We just wanted the truth. And he came in there and he talked and then started pleading the fifth. And that's against the normal rule of order in the legal system. So,
Yeah,
you
I looked something up. I was trying to find it real quick. Just give me a second. I'm gonna bring it up first because it was in my. I gotta go to. Oh, hold on. I gotta go open it in the Friday Night Shit Show chat. I just shared it in there. So let me open it real quick. Uh, part. Okay, I'm gonna open this, and then I'm going to share it. Sorry, I'm really slow at this stuff. But because today when I was in a space with American, I was co-hosting with American Space this morning for the front porch, and I looked this up because we had people talking about it, and I wanted to find out what would happen if you get found guilty of the contempt of Congress. It says penalties can include up to 1 year in jail, up to, that's it, and a fine of up to 100,000 under the statutory contempt process. It's less time than he would get it. He was charged with any other crimes that we know he's committed. That's what I put in my thing because I thought that was pretty lame. Here's a guy who can get away without saying shit, basically, and just get a slap on the wrist from Congress, basically, for maybe a year in jail after everything he's done. I just think that was pretty lame. So I just wanted to share that because I think that's bullshit. I think he deserves way more punishment than that. And everything that I have for tonight that I'm going to share, and then we're going to talk about each thing after we, bring it up, has to do with this whole thing, because that's what I named the show, is a Fauci filibuster, basically, because that's all he did. He didn't do shit. He just sat there like a lame ass, just like Hillary Clinton did when she went up. And Bill Clinton, at least he was Googling and goggling over, oh, look at his pictures of himself in the hot tub and stuff with all them young women. And even his lawyer had to snatch it out of his hand, and he would take it back from her and have to look at it because he was drooling, wiping his chin and stuff. He was disgusting, the whole thing. But he just sat there like this, like a frightened turd, basically, is what he looked like to me. He's just repulsive. All of these people are repulsive, and people were getting sick of it. They were just saying, I'm getting so mad, this is bullshit and stuff. But see, people have to realize that we have to do it like this. Okay, this is our country, is a government of laws. Okay, the men don't just run around and do whatever they want. Oh, you can't. We have the country we have that's only 250 years old of having its independence, right? But look how strong we are, because we're the only country in the world that has a system like this, and it works. If we follow the rules, it will work, and it makes it even for all of us. But yes, it's slow. It's slow, especially when it's this huge. It's ginormous amount of corruption, and we've been letting it just sweeping it under the rug for the next generation to deal with, and now it's our turn.
Well, I do want to give a shout out to two of the Democrat senators.
Okay.
And it's kind of interesting because when I went to the hearings in 2024, Fetterman didn't come, but Dr. Mfume did. Mm-hmm. Now, Dr. Mfume said he wants accountability, and Fetterman also said he wanted accountability. So it was not across the board in there between the Democrats, but I think we're all aware that there's just a total upheaval in the Democrat Party right now. I mean, yesterday they mortgaged their downtown building in New York City for $15 million just so they could make it to the midterms. And they sent letters out to all of their vendors and asked if they would not bill them until after the midterms. So the DNC is financially collapsed, and it's over the infighting over the socialism, Marxism, Islamic revolution that's going on within the Democrat Party. So it'll be interesting to see.
Questions?
What's that?
Did Fetterman ask any questions? I missed
No. He just said that he wanted accountability. None of the Democrats.
Okay, there you go. See, if everyone goes on and on about how wonderful Fetterman is, Fetterman, blah, 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 but he didn't do anything that his constituents didn't do. He did not dare ask one question because he knew what would happen as soon as he walked out that door. So he didn't. He was in line. He fell in line just like all the rest of the Democrats. He did exactly what they wanted him to. He didn't ask any questions and make Fauci look worse. Okay, because he made sure it stayed right down party lines, and that's exactly what they wanted from him. Yeah, of course he whatever you want to call it, farted on the side or pretended like he was set aside or whatever. It's all bullshit. That to me is bullshit. He did not step outside of his realm. He fell in line. So I'm sorry. I don't care. I think he's just as bad as everyone else. If he's not willing to act like he cares and he expects something to happen, he didn't ask any questions, so he doesn't expect anything to happen. That's what he
Well,
expects.
I mean, what he did do was he did some after hearing interviews
Yeah,
with
but not
major.
with Fauci. See, what I'm trying to
What
say is
what difference does it make what they said to Fauci
because
yesterday?
he could have set himself aside from the rest of the lame Democrats by saying, why won't you answer any of these questions? You know, what's your name? What color tie are you wearing? Anything. Could have asked it any question outside the realm of other Democrats, but he didn't. He chose not to. He sucked his thumb, he bent over and he kissed Fauci's ass. That's what he did. That's how I see it. It's no different than any other Democrats. And, you know, I'm sorry. I just don't see any different. And the thing is, as long as they keep doing it and they just say one thing, yay, look at me, I'm different than the rest. He's not. He didn't expect anything different. He didn't do anything different. Didn't ask any questions and expect him to say, I plead the fifth, blah, blah, blah. He didn't do it. So to me, until I see him do something else and step away from him, he's no better. He's no better than the rest of them.
Well, the
So
way the battle played out yesterday, basically, if you think about it, okay, Mfume and Fetterman both said that we need accountability in this. There are unanswered questions, right? Every question that was brought forward from the Republican side was an unanswered question. But when you went to Senator Hawley and Senator Marino, who they saved for the end, they knew he wasn't going to answer questions, so they would ask the question redundantly and then put the facts up on the board so we can see them. So we're still at a place right now where so many people disagree with this whole COVID thing. I literally see posts on Facebook where people are saying, well, Fauci saved me and my whole family. It's like, okay, the death rate from COVID was 0.03%. Okay? 0.03%. The year before, there were 12 million deaths from the flu announced.
and then
The
none.
year of the lockdown, there were 0 cases of the flu announced.
That's
They all got
impossible.
named to be deaths from COVID, and the flu wasn't going to do anything because people weren't moving around and spreading it. It's one of the most spreadable viruses in the world. Even Spanish flu killed 18 million people.
I know, and I was talking about tons of things that were coming across. I had people that sent me a message and said that their loved one was in a motorcycle accident with a vehicle, okay, and they went to the hospital. They weren't allowed to go in there because you know COVID and they had to wear a mask and all that, and they were sitting outside in their vehicle because they weren't allowed to go in the hospital. And then they were told that their loved one didn't make it. Okay, and then they found out the next day that they supposedly on paperwork died from COVID. So it was all farce. It was all bullshit. I heard more and more stupid stories like that. And then I was constantly brought boxes, test, you know, testing by 6. Sometimes one week I got 6 tests brought to me saying, you need to take tests. Why? I'm not sick.
Yeah, my friend GW's girl was the security analyst for Blue Cross Blue Shield, and she was fired from that job because she got sick and tired of reading death cases, right? Where the person was decapitated in an automobile accident and the number one cause was COVID. Now, there's a reason for that.
Because if they tested positive, that's what they died from.
No, no.
Then what?
For every death that a hospital attributed to COVID, they got a $30,000
Yeah,
payment.
that's why they did it.
Well,
So
that's
the
called
numbers
a
were all
bribe.
screwed up. There's no way to go back and make sure we have a real number of how many people actually died. You know,
Well,
from COVID.
it's just a
There's
little
no
more
way.
than 1 million that actually died from it. And at one point, the oh Jesus, Johns Hopkins was reporting 9 million COVID deaths, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of that's been looked at again, and it turns out that only 1 million. They took out uh, all of the vax injury deaths, which there were some instant deaths from it, and they took out all of the flu deaths, and they took out all of the clearly another cause other than most of the people who died from the COVID infection had a reaction that's called cytokine storm. The spike protein, it attacked the ACE2 inhibitor inside the cell that helps to create the mitochondria, and the mitochondria is the energy of the human body. So what happens when cytokine storm happens is you run into Krebs cycle problems and you start producing too much water. That water would go into those people's lungs, and then they would put a ventilator on them. There's 4 different kinds of pneumonia. Type 4 is when the water is coming into the lungs from outside of the lungs in the bloodstream instead of an infection or injury, smoke injury, inhalation, whatever.
Yeah.
So these people had water trying to escape from their blood because it was basically killing them. And that water went into the lungs, and then they put these respirators on them, which pressurized the inside of the lung and prevented that water from getting in. And that's cytokine or cytokine. It's pronounced both ways, storm. And it was one of the things my father did right before he died. We were analyzing all of the emergency room data and everything, and all the doctors were saying, we can't figure out what's killing these people. They're not dying from the COVID infection. And my dad simply said in this meeting 2 words, cytokine storm. And I'm telling you, that stuff got seen. It was a MedCram situation with Dr. Roger Sawalt. He runs MedCram. He's a teacher. What MedCram does is it gathers all emergency room data every day, monitors for these kind of outbreaks, and then puts up there what is working at this hospital or that hospital or whatever. And he keeps everything on the up and up. He's an amazing man. And we were in that group looking at the board of what was doing it. It was just second nature to my father. I mean, I had people who knew my father that would tell me that he could break down a problem that had 10,000 solutions in 1 second when it came to dealing with human disease. So basically there's 10,000 systems, and 10,000 things can go wrong with all of them. And my father could read a medical file and spit out the answer immediately. He just was on a different level. That's why he was a president's doctor. That's why he headed AIDS at the Pentagon. All of his accolades in life were because he had that level of insight with human health. So they suppressed when he made that statement. And at the time, he was the senior advisor to the Senate Biological Weapons Group. And basically, I was his cyber guy. You know, he couldn't use a computer, and he going way back to the 80s. He'd be like, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. So basically, I was his cyber guy. But, you know, I'm not going to say which agency, but it was tied directly into Congress. I've got a flag right over here behind me.
Yeah.
This flag right here flew over the U.S. Senate building. That flew over the U.S. Senate building. And it has a letter in here from, let's see who it's, Sam Nunn, one of the most famous and powerful senators ever from the state of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't just a small, he wasn't just a small guy. Now, also at that time, the CDC director was Dr. Bob Redfield, and my father and Dr. Bob Redfield were besties. My dad had trained him when he was in the military and hospital administration, and everything that we were talking to each other about and all the other work we were doing, we were going straight through Dr. Redfield, and Dr. Redfield was being attacked inside the administration by Fauci and all of this. So, you know, you didn't even hear that brought up in that hearing yesterday. But Fauci, I mean, he had a God complex. Just it went beyond narcissism, and
Yeah.
you can tell from his input into his.
His head's like this big.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned to you yesterday that in Right Side News Broadcasting, there was a live podcast going on, and everybody was saying this really stupid stuff about the diary. And I said, I just commented, consider the serial killer. Many of them keep panties as a trophy. Fauci kept a diary. And that's the blunt truth. And when I posted that, this little red, white, and blue eagle flew up on my screen, and it had all this weird stuff coming off of it. And it was seen by a lot of people.
Well,
But
it's
in the simple
factual.
truth, that's what it
Almost
is.
all serial killers are narcissists.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
And Fauci is without a doubt a serial killer. You can
definitely.
tell from his diary entries that he knew exactly what was going on, and he wouldn't raise his hands, go,
But
"Hey,
a lot
we
of
fucked
people
up."
said that about him back when he was dealing with AIDS. They said the same thing, that he was killing people.
Well, I
He was
mean,
trying to get rid of them because of they were gay, that kind of stuff. I heard tons of stuff about him back then. So when they put him in charge of this, I was like, what the fuck? I mean, why? Why would they want to do that?
I'll
So
tell you exactly why they used Biden. This was another decision. Okay, Trump had already lost the election. Right, he's about to leave office in January of 2020. And they were in the transition process of the presidency. So this transition process, the same transition process where Obama and Comey charged General Flynn with treason for doing his job, right? So they're in this transition, and Trump goes to Biden and he says, "Look, this is your administration. You pick the person you want to do it." And that's why Fauci had that job.
mhm. See,
That's
I'm
not a
writing.
guess. That's not a guess. I know for a fact. I was involved in all of it back then. Going back to 2019, I knew all of this. Right? Trump got stuck with him. No, I said that backwards. No, that's right. No, I said it right. It was 16 to 20 was Trump, 20 to 24 was Biden. This
Mhm.
happened at the beginning of
Yeah, but you got
2020.
to remember, I think all this was planned in advance, anyways, and it was going to still happen, even if, but they were expecting Hillary to be president, and people like me would have been sent to camps and forced to
Well,
get the jab.
yeah,
That's what I believe.
they built those camps, by the way.
Yeah, I know they did, but that's what I really do believe that. I still believe that people like me that refused to get it would have been sent to a camp under Hillary Clinton because she would. I mean, she'd probably been eating people's livers and kidneys and stuff. Who knows? I mean, I have no idea. I don't. I can't stand that woman. But I want to play this because this was one of the first things I wanted to open with, simply because it has to do with sports and it just shows you how ridiculous Fauci really was, if it's even in sports memes, and stuff. But I want to play this really quick because I don't follow sports that much. But when I saw this, I just thought, what I can't believe this. But this is the Eagles. I guess he's the defense coordinator. I don't know that much about that stuff, but I want to play this little snippet from him because it's just really funny. But here we go.
What's the plan at safety? Is that Martin's job?
I'm going to be like Fauci and just take the Fifth Amendment on questions. Did you guys see that? Oh my God. What was the question?
So I just wanted to share that because I just thought, what Fauci's an idiot. I mean, he really is an idiot. I mean, they're making fun of it, but I'm going to share this real quick in the chat because I thought it was funny. Because I'm like, good grief. I mean, he's making us a laughing stock. You know what I mean? And the fact that it's sad because people died. Many people are still sick.
Many people are still dying.
Yeah, people still have they're getting cancer, they're getting heart problems, they're getting stomach problems, they're getting skin problems, they're getting all kinds of these illnesses. And what's really sad is a lot of them don't even want to talk about it because they don't want to admit that what they did was the reason why they're sick now. You know, they don't want to believe it. And a lot of
Well,
them
there's
still,
a little irony here about the using the fifth.
Mhm.
Now, granted, two totally different situations. What Letitia James did to Donald Trump in New York, but Trump pleaded the fifth 455 times in those hearings, right? Well, I mean, that was the skit I was telling you about with Dave Chappelle from one of the Chappelle shows where he said, "Yeah, I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth 500 times. I'm not telling you anything, right?" It's one of the most hilarious skits in the world. But when Trump did it, it was the biggest news ever. When Fauci does it, everybody's listen.
Yeah,
If
but the
Fauci would have
difference,
talked, they would have been putting handcuffs on some of those people on that panel.
but the
It's just
difference
the truth.
is, okay, when someone else is on the stand, okay, and they plead the fifth, how many people died because of them?
Oh
These
yeah,
people like
yeah.
killed hundreds
It's
of
a
people.
different situation
Yeah,
for sure.
totally different. So, you know, they could say whatever they want. It doesn't matter. They sat in there yesterday and not one of them asked them a question. They could have said stuff. Did you have a bubble bath this morning? Or did you play with your little squeaky toy while you were in the bubble bath? I mean, they could have asked them any stupid ass question to make it look stupid or whatever they wanted, but they didn't.
Well, I
All
mean,
they did was
it
give
was
you
an
the
act of
time to
defiance and it was
bitch and
contempt.
moan, just like they always do. They just bitch about, oh, I have a scratchy coochie and I need to take medicine and whatever fucking shit they wanted to talk about had nothing to do with what they were there for, but yet they sit there blah 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 and do their shit anyway. So the whole thing was a farce, and that's how they treat everything. They sit up there and they ask the stupidest shit, they say the stupidest shit, and they do nothing to help any of us. And every single American citizen that sat there and had to watch that shit, okay, and watch how the Democrats react to a man who clearly is full of shit, full of himself, and took it out on the American people. And some of the people sitting their ass in there that could ask questions, some of their people that they knew and cared about, friends, family, or relations, or whatever, have died because of it. But that they sat there and did nothing. When they had a chance, they should be ashamed of themselves. And hopefully, God has a special place for each of those people, because that's disgusting. They're repulsive, and I'm sad to say that those people are sitting in a place of authority that can make decisions for you and I's lives and our children and our grandchildren and our great grandchildren. That's what's disgusting about these people. But this woman,
Hang on one second and let me make a
okay, go
comment
ahead.
right there.
Go ahead.
That one of the things that I was sending to the people inside the room, one of the female Democrat senators came on and she was literally saying, we need Dr. Fauci for, you know, some of these things going on right now. She mentioned hantavirus and she mentioned the new diarrhea bug, right? Now, she didn't say anything about the Ebola outbreak in Africa. But here's how that unfolded. Back around the turn of the year, when they first started talking about the hantavirus, we're like, okay, well, you know, they probably got that. That's very common down in South America. But the truth about it was there was a landfill in a port city in Venezuela and Argentina, I'm sorry, and it was infested with rats, and there was a hantavirus outbreak going on, and they were allowing people to take cruises out of there, to take trips all over Africa. Then it shows up in Africa, right? So I directly contacted World Health Organization and I said, this is what we have on you. That immediately disappeared and they isolated the hantavirus. So a few months later, the Ebola outbreak hit in Africa, And these people were allowing people from the infected area to get on planes and fly around the world, including America. So when we rerouted a jet, this is in one of our earlier podcasts. I told this story. We rerouted a jet to Toronto because they would allow them to land, and we're like, don't send another jet over here. Don't do it. Then we sent one of our Mercy ships over there to keep the Americans in the area. And once again, we went to the World Health Organization and said, your job is not to report and spread disease, it is to isolate it. Now, jump to now with the new one coming out, which she mentioned, and we're now investigating to see if that was also an attempt to attack America and cause fear. So this woman was using fear to say we have another one of these coming. Well, they use fear to put the vaccine into the American population, which people made billions upon billions of dollars on, and did not know what the outcome of giving it to people was. What that makes me wonder is she one of the ones who's involved in the biological warfare that was being done against Americans and perpetrated by American citizens and actors in our government? Because that's what I would say. Those are the questions I want answered. I don't care what Fauci says. I know everything about him. I met him in 1986. He's a piece of shit now, and he was a piece of shit then. Yeah. But the question that I want to ask is that woman, where did you get your information, or are you one of the people involved in these biological attacks? That's what I'd like to ask her.
Well, why don't you?
Well, I will. But okay. Go ahead. I just wanted to say that before we moved on.
Okay, well, I want to share this because I've been following Tulsi, since I tried to follow every single person that Trump has put on his on his administration. But I got this because she was upset. And when I saw her post, it says, Fauci's performance today made me sick. Smug arrogance, zero remorse, zero accountability. He refused to answer a single question. Sharing this again as a reminder, he used your tax dollars to fund the coronavirus lab research in Wuhan and worked with the IC to cover it up. We deserve the truth and accountability. And then she did this. She played this again because this is truth. Because I haven't seen a single Democrat come out and say they're going to take her to court for slander or anything. And she put this out when she first left her position to go take care of her husband, who is diagnosed with rare cancer. So I'm going to play this again. It's a little over 5 minutes, and I'll pause it if you ask me to. But the thing is, everything she says in this is true. And remember, when our president said he called it the China virus, he called it that for a reason because he knew it came from China. Okay, and I can say it all I want because I have the right to say that because I definitely believe it is from China. And then we have Tulsi Gabbard saying this.
Before the COVID pandemic, Dr. Fauci, as head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, provided millions in U.S. taxpayer dollars to fund dangerous gain-of-function research on bat coronaviruses at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, work which is now widely viewed as the source of the unintentional lab leak that sparks the pandemic. Now, in support of President Trump's maximum transparency mandate, today, on my final day as Director of National Intelligence, I'm releasing never-before-seen communications and documents that expose exactly how Fauci worked with politicized career leadership in the intelligence community to suppress the truth about his actions, the virus's lab leak origins, and his role in directing U.S. funding for this dangerous research that caused immeasurable harm and countless lost lives. Now, these documents expose Fauci's direct role in influencing and manipulating ICE assessments on COVID-19 and how Fauci lied to Congress in 2024 when under oath he denied knowledge of or participation in discussions with intelligence officials about viral research. We also received testimony from multiple intelligence community whistleblowers who reported retaliation for challenging the intelligence community's manipulation of intelligence on the virus's origins, once again revealing a clear pattern of suppressing dissent, silencing critics, and burying the truth. Dr. Fauci's close relationships with the intelligence community enabled him to assume three key roles that shield him from scrutiny. First, Dr. Fauci funded dangerous gain-of-function coronavirus research linked to Big Pharma and their pursuit of universal vaccines worth trillions of dollars. Second, Dr. Fauci was the behind-the-scenes advisor who, alongside his hand-picked so-called experts, pushed the intelligence community to endorse a natural animal origin to hide his dangerous gain-of-function research that he funded using taxpayer dollars, all of this in a deliberate attempt to cover up the truth and shift the blame and attention away from Fauci's own actions. Third, Dr. Fauci became the nation's pandemic pundit, and he publicly pushed lies, disinformation, and censorship using every platform available. Now, according to hundreds of reviewed emails, which are included in this release, the intelligence community almost always incorporated Fauci's recommendations. He promoted a fraudulent paper whose publication he helped prompt as legitimate information for intelligence community consideration. Senior analysts praised Dr. Fauci not as a policymaker, but as what they called an unbiased guide to the real coronavirus experts, while deliberately ignoring experts who might dissent from Fauci's narratives. Now, Fauci didn't stop there. He blatantly lied to Congress under oath during his 2024 testimony to the House Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus.
Okay, she just said that he blatantly lied under oath in 2024, but what had happened to him?
No, I was in that hearing.
No, what happened to him for lying under oath? Which is
they brought him back in yesterday and gave him a chance to tell the truth. He pleaded the fifth, which basically means everything she said is right. Okay, now let me tell you about the deep state, because I've been in the deep state basically my entire life. The deep state cannot do anything without a blessing from inside the elected government that we hold. So just digest that for all the listeners. Just digest that for a minute. Okay. We have black hats and white hats. The black hats support globalism. They support Marxism, and they support allowing Islam into this country. Okay. Now, I wrote something to the PIAB today, and I'll sum it up real short. Each of the major three military powers in this nation is suffering from the same problem. We are being infiltrated. China has been infiltrated, and Russia has been infiltrated. And they have been infiltrated by the globalist neocons and by the Islamic regime, who have outright said they don't want any government in the world except the caliphate under Allah in anywhere in the world. And at the same time, the neocon globalists, who are basically run by Open Border Society, which is George Soros, right? And they have openly stated that they don't want borders. Now, everybody involved in the United States government, Mayorkas and the former Merrick Garland Attorney General, these people were involved. They were involved in the biological attack. They were involved in the mandates of the vaccine. And the entire purpose of it was that Trump would not get reelected. So all of this was going on during the summer of 2019. At the same time, when we busted the Chinese consulate in Houston, and they wouldn't open the doors, and when they did have the doors open, the whole place was on fire. And another State Department official who I know, Dr. Esther Roberts at the George Washington University, she and I had a very candid talk about that. They completely covered that shit up. Right? And I
Can you read
I
what he
think
said?
that was in the summer of 2020 that they did that. Right? Right
Yeah.
before the election. So we knew that not only was there meddling in the election, but we knew China was involved in it. And it
Yeah.
got covered up. And Dr. Roberts and I both agreed, oh my God, what are we've this is being done from the inside. Man, I'm telling you, they tried to wipe us off the map for telling the truth.
Yeah, but did you see what Omen Screaming Raven said? He said, lied the first time, pled the fifth on the second. It still lies, obviously, and still not in cuffs for this. Why?
Because of what I just said.
I know.
Because our government was involved in this, not only funding and paying for the development of the biological weapon that we were attacked with. Let's go back to what I told you about how I got into this whole mess. We were having a black mold issue in Middle Tennessee, and we went before the Tennessee Congress, and we were trying to get a law passed so real estate agents would have to tell people this house was infected with black mold at a previous time, right? Instead of hiding that, because black mold can kill you. Fauci came and testified against my father, who was the epidemiologist for Tennessee at the time, and said black mold was harmless. So I start looking into it, and I dig up in 2004 in Microbiology magazine, or maybe it was an NIH press release, that black mold was a huge problem, and that it in any respiratory illness or any compromise of the lungs, that it made death occur much easier. Right? Now, not only is that mold issue a problem, but the chemtrails that are paid for by Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation, is the slang term for it is yellow mold. Right? So they're spraying all this shit in the air that complicates respiratory disease. Okay? Now, we posted on one of the last couple of shows, Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation donated $16 million to Moderna in 2016 to develop the vaccine. In 2019, in February, he gave Moderna $55 million to start making the vaccines. Did you hear what I said? They were making these vaccines in February of 2019.
Yeah, I know. Glenn Beck talked about it a long time ago.
Right.
Way
So
back. The whole
throw in there on
whole
top of
thing
that
had it
they're
all set up.
right. They're giving Trump misinformation. They're doing all this behind his back. And then that's where it comes in that active elected officials and cabinet appointees and all this other stuff were involved in this process. And they were working with the corporation of the United States, which is a building on Constitution Avenue in Washington, D.C., that basically it's the people who ran USAID. USAID was in their building. USAID was how they were getting money to fund all of this crazy stuff. So no, COVID isn't new. The first thing I found on SARS-2 was at the University of Georgia in 2009. They were experimenting with it, but they were using turkeys. Now, another thing that my father and I worked through was getting Congress to ban gain of function research, which we did. At that point, Obama and Fauci took every single piece of information at CDC we had on biological weapons, including what was at Fort Dix, where the military worked on it, and handed it over to China, and then were using the University of North Carolina to funnel grants through to pay for all of it. I have the grant numbers, who signed them, and all of that stuff, and Congress has that as well, but I can't get into details of that right now. That started in 2012, right? The grants and the funding and all of that stuff. So they had those channels already set up. So
Well,
once they went behind
interrupt for
Congress's
just a
back
second.
and
I just want to
what?
interrupt for just a second.
Yeah.
A while back, I remember watching before President Trump picked Kennedy to take the position that he has. I saw him doing a couple speeches on the whole thing. I'm trying to remember what it was called, where they were like brainwashing people. And I can't remember the name of the program he was talking about.
MK Ultra.
Yeah, MK Ultra. He was doing a whole thing on that, but he was also talking about the whole thing about gain of function and the other thing that you and Dawn had talked about, something Swiffer, or can't remember the word. Damn, it sucks. That popped in my head when you were saying it. And he was talking about how they knew about this whole thing and what to use and what diseases they wanted to get rid of under Nixon. And that Nixon had told them to take these viruses and stuff that you guys were doing to try to make bioweapons with and burn them, get rid of them, because now we have nukes and we have these other weapons. We don't need the bioweapons anymore. And they didn't. Okay, they didn't. They took it to like other countries and had laboratories that we were funding in secret, and that they were using, I don't remember the name of it now, the CIA and another three-letter agency to keep the money coming by using drug cartels and selling drugs and stuff like that, and laundering the money through the drug cartels to go back to their laboratories and stuff. There's a whole interesting thing that Kennedy was talking about, all this different stuff, and it was really good. And that's what got me interested in the whole thing to begin with. And then when this whole thing with COVID started, and then I heard Glenn Beck's thing about them already having this stuff ready to go way back in 2019, that's when I started looking into the whole thing about Fauci and finding out more dirt on him about the whole thing with the AIDS thing. See, that's how all that, I got interested in all that stuff. And then I saw Dawn talking on a space. See, and it just started just all clicking together. The reason I was looking into this stuff and thought it was interesting and wanting to find out more about it. And then I met you, and we all, all this stuff started happening. But all of it is connected. I think that the government has been involved in a long time at trying to use this stuff because they didn't want to give it up. They didn't want to give up what they thought was an easier, cheaper way to make people sick or get rid of people they don't want around or that are troublemakers without having to look, we pushed the button. You see what I mean? They
Yeah,
could just
the biological,
for all we know. And that's what was
the,
so scary about it.
the United States biological weapons research and development began in 1905 as a response to the Spanish flu.
Mm-hmm.
That's how long they've been working on it.
Yeah,
But all of that was done under DARPA. And so when they went to Trump and asked him to implement a program that could make all of this happen faster, that was a total sham job on Trump because they were making the vaccines before they ever went to Trump with the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You follow what I'm saying?
They had to
Yeah.
make a problem. See, the whole thing was, I told you, I really do believe that it was going to unfold this way under Hillary, because they weren't expecting Trump. Everyone, none of them believed that Trump would even make it. And they had to, and when Hillary went out on stage, I'm telling you, the look on her face when John Podesta was telling them that they didn't win, you could see if she had had lasers coming out of her eyes, everyone in that audience would have been gone. She was so mad, and she couldn't believe that the cheat wasn't in. It didn't work for her. They didn't cheat enough for her to
Yeah.
win. So that's why when it was Biden's turn, because they couldn't do Hillary again, I guess she was too pissed off, or she'd burned a few bridges or something after the big fuck you, after she was pissed off saying she was going to get rid of some people, make them pay her back. And then they realized she was just too dirty. There was no way that it was going to work. They had to find another patsy. And so they just used Biden and propped him up on like Weekend at Bernie's, and used him because they knew that no matter what, we can just rubber stamp his name or whatever. We just have to prop him up and, take him around or whatever. That's all they needed. And it worked because they had enough people and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to count ballots and make more ballots or whatever they needed. It's such a huge thing. No one would believe it was true. But I ordered me a t-shirt, and I'm going to wear it with pride. And it says, it talks about how I believe in Bigfoot more than I believe in 81 million votes.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to wear that shirt, I'm telling you, because I tell you, when I heard about it today, someone that has one, and they were talking about it in the space, I got to have that, because that is 100% factual.
Well, let's go back to 2016 and the night that Donald Trump splayed Hillary Clinton in that debate.
Yeah.
Her campaign manager was Donna Brazile. Now, as we spoke earlier about narcissism and all of that, Hillary went backstage where they were recording, and she said to Donna Brazile, she blamed Donna Brazile for the failure, asked her what her problem was, and she said, if you don't fucking fix this, we're all gonna hang from ropes. Within a couple of days is when James Comey went into the West Wing and had a private meeting with Barack Obama and James Comey. And there was one other person there, and that's when they started the Russian collusion hoax. I think the other person there might have been somebody that was a legal person at Coy, which was the law firm that protected the Clintons. So they started the attack on Trump. They worked and created all of those false documents involved in that. Then they pulled the 302, 303 sham on.
Never stopped. It
Yeah,
was
right.
24/7 after that day.
Okay, so you lead up on December 28th, Barack Obama used all of that false information to say that he was going to still maintain control in Washington until Trump was acquitted. And that's standard process in our electorate process. So they did that to Trump, and then Biden came in and nothing changed. Okay, there was a meeting at the White House, and everybody came, and Obama showed up. And he kept calling Biden the vice president, and he was snubbing Joe Biden, and Joe Biden was walking around in there confused, and Biden was humming it all up with everybody, the cabinet members and all of that. And the reason for that is because he was running the White House, but he was doing it through Susan Rice. Susan Rice was the person who came up with the fake story about the video and had Dinesh D'Souza thrown in prison, when what that was about was that the head of that consulate in Libya was about to blow the whistle on the fact that they were bringing weapons from Yemen through Benghazi and giving them to ISIS in Syria. So, all of this stuff ties together, and all of it is, here's the problem with a free country. If a man can lie to you the way that Obama did, tell you he's a Christian the whole time he's running for president, and the day he's elected, he says, I'm a Muslim, he has every right in the world to switch sides in a war between Muslims and Christians, because we elected him. The way that we undo stuff like that is by voting. That's how you fix it. But more importantly than that is people need to pay a damn attention to what the hell's going on in the world. You have to pay attention to what's going on in the world. To finish my other thought earlier, that when I was doing the research into the black mold mess and Fauci's name kept coming up, so I'm constantly putting his name into my search engine. Well, then all of a sudden I've got these videos arriving that it's of students in Wuhan who were saying that they had democratic elections and that President Xi attacked them with a bioweapon. I was getting videos where they were welding doors shut on apartments, starving people. Other apartments, CCP and local police were dragging people out. There was videos of people walking down the street on the way to work, just drop dead right on the side of the damn road. There were mass graves that would have thousands of bodies in them. Now, I gave this to my father. He's on the Biological Warfare Senate Committee, and somebody erased that off of our computers. And now the person who was running YouTube at the time has come forward and said she was ordered to delete videos and she deleted them. And those were in that bunch. Okay, now.
Yeah, but she's not alive anymore.
That's true.
I played that video of her talking about how come she got rid of everybody's stuff. Anybody that talked against getting the vaccine or had other ways of taking care of yourself and what you were going to do instead and all this kind of stuff. Because half my stuff got taken down every time I had you guys on the show talking about what Dawn was doing in her own kitchen with her own blood and her own.
Well, we should have cut off air traffic. But see, when we first got that information towards the summer of 2019, had Nancy Pelosi not been involved, those airports would have been shut. When Trump tried to do the shutdown and started doing the China, she went to Chinatown in San Francisco and told them we had nothing to worry about. And she knew good and well that they were dispersing this virus all over the country, slowly infecting people, because they knew the virus wasn't that deadly. It was deadly to people who were subjected to, had other problems. Even lupus was one of them that they knew. If you got
my sister had lupus and she was taking that whatever that is again, ivermectin. Okay, just like you were telling me, what was it last week when we were talking that the in Africa that during the whole thing before the AIDS epidemic. Not AIDS, before the COVID epidemic, that a lot of people didn't even get sick or get COVID because they were already taking ivermectin for something else, some kind of other hookworm.
Scabies. Yeah, scabies.
That's what it was. So, my sister never got it because she was taking ivermectin already. And then other people that were were smokers too, because of the nicotine. For now that they're doing all the real studies and stuff, more and more stuff's coming out that because they were smokers, they didn't have a chance to get it. There was just so much. And I didn't smoke, but I was doing allergy shots every week. I never did get COVID. And I had one blood test because I wouldn't let them stick nothing up my nose, and it proved that I never had COVID. So it's like, but I wasn't about to let them stick that thing up my nose after I saw many videos coming from different places, from India and other places, showing people sitting on dirt floors with their kids, no gloves, no laboratory, taking these long sticks that look like big Q-tips and putting them in little plastic things and sealing them to put in a box to mail to us to shove up our nose to see if we had COVID. And I was like, forget that shit. And then I saw them in England sticking it up the nose of little kids and stuff coming out with blood on it, which meant they pierced the membrane that was between the sinus cavity and their little brains, and I was like, there's no way I'm letting another person stick one of those up my nose ever, and I didn't. The one time I went to the emergency room, they came in and the doctor didn't even come in. He stood in the hallway And he's like, you probably have COVID. And I said, no, I don't. I don't have COVID. And he said, well, we're going to do a test. I said, you're not sticking nothing up my nose. And I was sick, man. I was so sick. I'd been in bed for 4 days and my hands are all drawn up. I was so dehydrated. And so you have to take my blood. So the nurses took my blood and I watched them open everything as I was watching. I mean, I was like a hawk. They took my blood and it was about 20 minutes went by and they came back and said, you don't have COVID. And I knew I didn't. And I was thankful that at least somebody in the laboratory didn't try to set me up and make it look like I had it, because I didn't. And I was lucky that it came back negative. And then they gave me I don't know what it was called, Finagrin or something to stop my nausea. And once I started getting the nausea to go away, and then I got hydrated from the IV, I was like starting to think, what did I get into? What did I get? And come to find out, when I came home, walked around my kitchen, I remembered there was a trail of ants coming from my back doors to my kitchen. So I took Raid and I sprayed it, all around. No big deal. But then the 2 days, the day before I got sick, before I woke up the next day and was nauseous, I had wiped up with some wet wipes all the dead ants and threw that in the trash. And guess what? I had no gloves on and I'm allergic to everything. So I absorbed whatever was in the Raid and it made me nauseous. And I was lucky, because I'm healthy as hell, that I didn't die, from whatever it was I took in my body. And I just drank, I ate ice and I drank and I crawled around on the floor to go to the bathroom and stuff, but I couldn't eat. I was so nauseous. And I finally went to the emergency room, thank goodness, and had that done.
Let me give you this. Between, I think it was either October or November of 2019, and then the end of January 2020.
Yeah.
So at the time, I was being treated with a drug for idiopathic thrombocytopenia, which is not having enough platelets. Which kind of is it's a euphemism, because you have more of the platelets than you're supposed to, but they don't develop into healthy platelets. And as they develop, they shrink.
Well, I'll have to give you a donation.
So
I have more that I need.
So all these platelets floating around in your body cause a lot of problems, but they won't stop you from bleeding. So I had been to see my oncologist that day, and I went over to the pharmacy in the Nashville VA, and there was a black couple next to me, and I could tell this guy, he was going through hell. So we had a conversation, and he was from Chicago, and he had come down to visit family, and he got sick in Nashville, Tennessee. So fast forward a little bit, my mom died on December the 6th of 2019, and her funeral, they did a service for her in Texas, and then they sent her remains to me, and I took care of funeral arrangements here in the family plot. So during the service here in Augusta, left-wing loop radical, Marxist cousin of mine came in late, and there was only one. I had been seating people and doing the door and all that kind of stuff. So there was hardly anywhere to sit when I walked in. And then I had to slide over, and basically so she could have a place to scrunch in. So on January the 9th, a few weeks later, after I got home, I had to go to the VA because I was having breathing problems. So they did all these tests on me and everything. And a Dr. Lou came and he asked me at that appointment, were you ever on interferon? And I'm like, yeah, I was on interferon. That's the drug that caused me to have idiopathic thrombocytopenia, which is the problem with the platelets. So I said yes. Well, February the 3rd, that cousin of mine who had just arrived from the airport at my mother's funeral, she was a Bernie Sanders supporter, and she had been up campaigning with Bernie Sanders around New York. So she goes in the hospital, almost dies from COVID. And of course, I went and questioned her and asked her this and asked her that and all that kind of stuff. That's how I found out where she contacted the COVID. So this is COVID contacts in the United States Now, fast forward just a little bit farther, and FBI officials arrested a Chinese national at O'Hare in Chicago who was carrying SARS-2, and his flight was to Harvard Medical. And he was carrying that bioweapon on a plane, not protected in the right thing, in a vial in his pocket, and he was arrested. So they had a pathway that they were putting all of this, getting all this virus out to people before anybody ever mentioned the word virus. So you go back to what Xi did to gain control of his people, and then the Democrat Party, who were deathly afraid that Donald Trump was going to get reelected and continue the path to deal with the Russian hoax and the Ukraine hoax and what they did to General Flynn and all this. They wanted him out of here. Those people were committing treason of the highest sort. So they were working with the CCP to spread all that across America so that they could stop. Everything that you've ever heard about any of that was a myth. They may kill me for the things that I'm saying tonight, but I got so pissed off after watching that piece of shit Fauci yesterday. I'm like, I'm over it. I don't care anymore. I'm not hiding the truth from anyone. I wish my father was still alive so that he could say, yeah, that's what we were doing. And the other person that I was working with at that time was a former Surgeon General and Lieutenant General named Quinn Becker. And Quinn Becker knew everything. So when my dad died of cancer, I was going to be working through General Quinn, and General Quinn died of cancer. And basically, the night my father died, I was pulled into the G2 gate at the Joint Base Special Operations, San Antonio, Texas. And my dad's laying dead in the hospital, and they said, you need to go in there. I'm like, ah, man, whatever. So I went in there, and the guys in there said, do you have a federal ID? Do you have an ID card? I said, no, I never did go get one. They said, do you have any card issued to you by the federal government? I said, well, I mean, my VA medical card. And they said, give it here. So they go in the back room, and when they come out, they got this thing burned on the back of my card. And it says, Tradition of Excellent Joint Base Special Operations, San Antonio. And I didn't know what it meant. They told me, they said, you can go in any building in this country, including the White House, if you want to. So I went and got by my dad's bedside and had my last moments with him. And I didn't really think about that thing anymore. I just kept doing my job. Well, when I had been tipped off about the upcoming attack in Gaza on August 19th, about 6 weeks before that event occurred, I had to go to military bases. So I went to all of the 5th Group and Delta Force bases because I had to talk to somebody there. They knew who I was and what my records were. Well, every time that I gave that ID to the guards at those gates, they'd take their little gun and shoot it, and half of them would faint. They'd back away from the car. I'm like, I don't know what this means. So one time that I went into Fort Gordon's gate, there was a CIA Delta guy there. I knew what he was because he was wearing civilian clothes, but he was ordering the guard gates around. And I said, can you tell me what this is? And he goes, back up over there. Now, this is a CIA base I'm on.
Yeah.
And he takes my ID from me and he puts it in front of the gate that CIA and the commanding officers, the generals, and all of that kind of stuff use. And he put my card up to that gate and the gate opened. I was like, what the hell is that? I had no idea what they had done for me. So I was at the DCA airport after the Fauci hearing, and a guy who worked at the airport had on his little yellow vest and all that. And he came up and we were smoking a cigarette outside while I was waiting for my limo driver to get there. And he tells me this story, right? He says, there was an old Indian walking down a trail, and he came up on an eagle and a snake, and the snake was constricting on the eagle, and the eagle couldn't get away. So the Indian walked over and he picked the snake up, and he got the snake off of this thing, and threw the snake, and the eagle flies up on a branch, and the eagle's up there preening his feathers and all this kind of stuff. Well, the snake stands up and he races over to the man, and his face is eye to eye with the snake. And when he does it, right when the snake does that, the eagle like starts shooting gold glitter out of his eyes and all this shit. And he said it covered that American Indian. And he said, "You have saved the eagle, and no one can touch you."
Mm-hmm.
And that story has stuck with me since that day. They invited me to a bar in Pennsylvania where a bunch of them met, and I just never made it over there because shit was hitting the fan left and right, and I had a job assignment I had to get to, and I was just continuing to do my work. Now, I still have that ID. I've shown that ID to generals. I showed it to General Flynn. I showed it to a lot of people, and all they ever said was, "I've never seen one of those in my life."
Mm-hmm.
And so I started using it. You know what I'm saying? And basically, once I started using it, I got in Elon's circle, and from Elon's circle, he got into politics and into the Trump administration, and he builds missiles. He's part of Space Force. And I knew he had a clearance, so we would have private conversations where I told him a lot of these stories I'm telling you tonight, and it all shocked the shit out of him. And in the middle of us having all that talk, that's when he bought Twitter, and man, the shit hit the fan. They went from having 200 or 300 million interactions a day on X to having 2 billion a day within just weeks of all that occurring. So, you know, I'm like talking about deep state shit right now and all that kind of stuff, but you just have to know there are extremely good people in the deep state. I would say John Brennan. I would say James Comey. I would say, oh God, what was that cheesy bald-headed dude with the glasses that was over the National Security Administration? Mayorkas, all of those guys, James Clapper, Tony, what's the Secretary of State? Tony, what's his last name?
I can't remember right this second.
All right, so check this out. The Tony guy, right? The very same day that Zelensky canceled the votes, canceled the election in Ukraine, he went to a party with him, and he was playing "Rockin' in the Free World," right?
Mm-hmm.
I busted his ass so sideways for that shit. So he came home and he performed at the White House. And basically what he performed at the White House was a song that it's over. They know everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So all of this was unfolding because one of the other things that I caught Tony doing was that he carried $300 million in cash to Nigeria to give to dissidents who were trying to overthrow the government. He gives this $300 million to Nigeria, and a few days later, Prigozhin, the assassinated soldier who was over everything in Ukraine, and Putin show up there. They take the money, and then there's an uprising, and they overthrew the Nigerian government, and that caused a huge problem between the United States and a European country whose king was over Nigeria, right? So all of this is going on. Man, one of the hearings I went to for COVID, they had Tony down in another hearing, and a Secret Service guy came up and he goes, "Hey, come down here. Tony's testifying today." I walked in the back door, and I was standing by a couple Secret Service and some Capitol Police, and I was listening, and all of a sudden the chairman said, "Okay, we've been asked for a recess, and the recess is for an indeterminate amount of time." And we were on a short break in the hearing I was in, so I went back down and finished my hearing. But these are the kind of things that were going on in the Biden White House, and Biden didn't have a clue. Okay, Susan Rice and Barack Obama were doing that. Now,
Yeah.
call it speculation, call it whatever you want to. It's my job to know who was doing it, and that's who was doing it. And he had all his puppets in there, and
Well,
and they would do
I
whatever
believe
he
all that.
said.
I do believe all that because all that is going to be slowly unfolding, just like what we're getting right now with the COVID stuff. It's just
I
that
don't
we
know
have
why
to,
I can't think of that some bitches that James Clapper,
can't remember all their
Kirby.
names. There's too many of them. But
Yeah, right. Well, I'm just telling
wanted,
you, we have their names, and it's going to be going. If they don't straighten this up with Congress and admit the truth about everything, so we can know what to do to move forward to prevent any of this from happening in the future, they're going to go in front of military tribunals for treason.
well, good. I hope they do because that's where I feel like a lot of this is leading. But I wanted to
That's where
finish.
it should be. Should
Yeah,
already been there.
yeah, I want to finish playing what Tulsi was saying so I can move on to the next thing because this was what she released earlier. And I think this information is the information that we are seeing the Congress using, and they were asking questions from all this information she has. And he didn't answer any of the
Virus
questions.
pandemic, denying that he ever spoke to any intelligence agency about COVID. Now, the correspondence I'm releasing today directly contradicts his sworn testimony. Now, we received statements from multiple whistleblowers revealing that the intelligence analysts who dared to challenge Dr. Fauci's COVID origin conclusions faced threats of retaliation, marginalization, and many suffered career setbacks. For example, a contractor was terminated just days after coming forward to ODNI as a whistleblower. Another example, those who advocated for the lab leak hypothesis or expressed dissenting views were reminded by their managers that leadership would determine which analysts would be promoted and which would not. The message was clear: go along or be punished. Senior leaders also sought to undermine whistleblowers by removing anonymity, which is required in the whistleblower process, as they made their complaints, and also insisting that their managers or attorneys be present during ODNI meetings where these whistleblowers were coming forward with their testimony, obviously creating an atmosphere of intimidation. The COVID pandemic caused tremendous hardship and pain for millions of our fellow Americans and countless people around the world. Now, after years of lies and censorship and cover-ups, the American people deserve transparency, truth, and accountability. The tactics that were used to hide the truth are straight from the deep state playbook. Politicized self-serving leaders like Dr. Fauci covered up their own wrongdoing and abuses of power, manipulated intelligence, lied to Congress, and undermined a duly elected president by restricting his access to the vital facts he needed to keep the country safe. It's time you know the truth.
Yeah, man, she was brave. That's one brave woman right there.
Anthony Blinken was the one I was talking about. I thought of his last name, Anthony Blinken.
Yeah. Well, there's so many of them. There's so many corrupt people. I just don't know what to say. But I wanted to play a couple of these different things that we got from the hearings. So let me open this one. This came across my timeline. I thought was interesting.
Yeah, let me say something about there's so many of them doing it.
Yeah.
We absolutely know that all of the money that has funded the corrupt judges, the ones who are literally overruling the president from a separate branch of the government, were funded by Open Borders Society and George Soros. And there are countless numbers of those. So, if you're in an area that has Soros funded DAs, AGs, and all that, like New York, where he happens to live up in Long Island, that's where the numbers of the infiltrated members of all levels of the government and people who have been elected into office, like Mondami and all of them. So those he's basically the big player, and he's the one who's manipulating the Marxist who literally would kill every Islamist, and the Islamists who would kill every Marxist just based on their ideology are working in cohesion. They show up together at rallies and talk about being gay and talk about Islamic and Palestine and genocide and all this other horse shit. And if they weren't being paid by George Soros to go to these protests, they wouldn't even show up together. And Victor Davis Hanson gave the absolute best, and I mean the absolute best explanation for what I just described about an hour before we started the show prep.
Yeah.
Okay. I would suggest everyone go see that. It's on the Daily Signal. And he came out and he explained it to a T. And basically what he was doing was he was expanding on what I sent to PIAB today, that was about how all three of the major powers are being infiltrated and disrupted. Yet all three powers, they want their sovereignty. They want to be able to rule their people as they choose. And that is how it should be. If the people don't like the way they're being ruled, it's up to them to rise up and take control of that. We're not the police of the world. Right? We got more shit going on in our country right now, and it goes exactly to the shit going on inside Russia and the shit going on inside China that they're fighting. And if all three of the major powers would clean up their own side of the street and go after these people who are trying to destroy every country in the world, it's not just the Western world they're after. They're after communism, they're after Buddhism, they're after Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism. I don't give a shit what your religion is. Islam will kill you. It's in the scripture that they live by. Behead the infidels. And the Marxists have just been manipulated with all the, we'll buy this, everything will be free. Ain't nothing is free. Nothing.
Mm-hmm. No, there isn't. But I 100% agree that that will be the end of days. And it's a religion that's broke off from our ancestors, you know.
France and
Jesus' ancestors, all of ours.
France and Germany today pass laws to ban Islam in their countries. They're seizing mosques.
I have a see, I think it's a post that I posted in the Friday Night Shit Show that that Florida is banning the Sharia law in Florida. So that's what we have to do. But the only sad thing is the federal government won't be able to ever get away with it. So
I got some intel out of a PLA member today.
States are going to pass it. That's going to let them have it in their state. So
well, check this out. I got a PLA video today. That's the People's Liberation Army in China. Mm-hmm. They're pro-democratic and anti-Qi. Anyway, this person sent me a video explaining how China deals with Islam, and gave a video, a guy trying to do a prayer in the street in China, and a police officer came.
I saw that.
Okay.
That.
All right. So she used that video in her talk, and here's what she said China does. They made it against the law for Muslims to fast. So when Ramadan comes up, they can't fast. They force them to sit at tables and they force them to eat. And the Chinese have a fasting period, and when they have their fasting period, they still forced their entire Islamic population to eat food. So these pricks are over here talking about, oh, y'all hate Islam and this and that and the other. Say, no.
They're just wanting them to get up, pack up, and leave. The fact is,
they've shut down all their mosques.
I know, but the thing is, why did China ever let them build them? That's what I don't understand. So that's interesting. I'd like to find out.
Because of George Soros. And check this out. I got a picture of Bill Gates having a private meeting with President Xi in the middle of COVID, and Bill Gates funded it. He funded it.
I can believe it. But the thing
Okay,
is,
so I would imagine Bill Gates was the influence over there that was telling him to open up his society and allow this to happen. But
well, all I
what
know
China's doing, they're
is
turning
that,
all of those mosques into bars, and people are
well,
going in there and drinking. And I'm telling you, a Muslim will not walk through the door of that building ever again. That means they can't go to heaven when they do that.
yeah.
Like if a
Well,
dog touches them, if a
hopefully
dog touches them, they can't go to heaven.
more and more people will, start paying more attention if they, but the thing is, I don't know. It's just hard to believe anything because we don't know what's real and what isn't. You have to go through 50 different things to find out. Because I don't like to use Google. I don't trust Google.
No, you can use Grok because
Well,
I'm one
I
of the
know, but
input people on
what I'm
Grok, and
saying
I
is I
put in
tell people
everything
to
that I'm saying to you to now has been put in Grok.
good. But I wanted to share this because I thought it was interesting. It says the Florida AG James Utmeyer is flying a plane to DC to collect mountains of evidence on Dr. Fauci, building a state case that sidesteps a federal pardon. So a subpoena is expected as early as next week. At least that's what Benny Johnson is saying. So keep your fingers crossed and hope that Florida is the first state to step up to the plate to start fulfilling what they feel is needed for their people. So hopefully, if at least some of the red states step up, we'll start seeing some changes. But until that happens, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I can just share the information that I have. But hopefully we'll start seeing a bunch of people stepping up saying, well, we can't wait on, we're not waiting on the federal government. But I want to share some of this. This is from the actual questioning, even though Fauci didn't answer anyone. I wanted to share this because it's still very telling. Here we go.
Mr. Fauci, do you know who David Schertler is?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. What does the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution say?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
No, I'm just asking you what it says.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
I'm going to give the Constitution to my aide. He'll bring it over to you so you can have it for future reference. I think it's something that every American should know what the Constitution says. Do you know who wrote the Fifth Amendment?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
So you're invoking a right that you don't know who wrote it or what it says. Is that correct?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Wow. All right, let me tell you who David Schertler is for the audience because he was ejected by the chairman. He's a high-profile criminal attorney. He's represented some really great people, like Senator Bob Menendez. Maybe that's somebody who my Democrat colleagues may remember took gold bars as bribes from the Egyptians. And there's an article here in the Washington Free Beacon that talks about why you would hire a guy like David Schertler. And the comment is, if you're in deep shit, that's who you call. Do you feel like you're in deep shit?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Clearly, what you think today is that somehow you're above reproach. Somehow you feel like you don't need to be treated like a normal American. can you do me a favor in the audience and stand up if during the time of the COVID pandemic, you were called a racist for calling the virus a Wuhan virus or the China virus? If you thought the 6-foot rule was total crap, if you thought the vaccine wasn't something that you should take, if you thought it was outrageous the way the mask policy was rolled out, if you were fired from your job for not taking that vaccine, including members of the military, if you thought closing schools was catastrophically stupid, and that you thought that during these times saying these things made you somehow a lesser human being. Dr. Fauci, can you just turn around and look at the people behind you? You're not willing to do that? That's not a question. It's not a question. To your lawyer, it's not a question. It's a request. All you have to do is look up from your lawyers and look at the people who were absolutely shamed for saying what we know now to be the truth. You can't even look at them? That's a question. Are you able to look at them? You can sit down in the audience. There was a mom in Ohio during the depth of the coronavirus pandemic, decided to go to her high school football game for her son. They hadn't been out much. The kids had been learning at school, and then the school got shut down. They hadn't really gotten much out of that education. As any parent knew, that remote learning was no learning at all. But it was a Friday night. Her son wanted to go watch a buddy go play football. So they went to the stadium. They sat alone, far from everybody else, just a mom, a dad, a few kids. They didn't feel they needed to wear masks because it was stupid, because they were outside. They all live together. They're not near anybody. Dr. Fauci, do you know what happened to that mom and that family? That's a question.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Yeah, he didn't answer any questions, but yeah, I wanted to share that simply for the fact that he wouldn't even acknowledge the people standing up. All you had to do was turn and look at him. That was it. And he wouldn't even do that because he's a piece of crap. He doesn't care about anybody but himself.
Well, he didn't acknowledge he killed 1 million people. Think about those poor families.
I know.
Right? My dad was he was 2 different presidents' doctors. I've discussed some of the amazing things that he did in his life. Okay? I couldn't go see him. And we were in the middle of this investigation at the time, talking about classified shit. And I could not get in there and see him. I mean, you believe me, not one single person in this country was not affected by COVID or the vaccine personally in their life. And the people who think the vaccine saved them are just too stupid to realize they never needed it in the first place. And they're suffering from spike protein issues that they don't even know they have. Why? Because we want Fauci to tell the truth that they know, that I know every single bit of the truth about this entire thing. I don't want to. Okay, I didn't ask to be born, just like nobody else asked to be born. But my life led me down a path that all of these things, it's not speculation for me or confusion or any of that shit. I've seen the documents. I heard the conversations. I watched how the White House was run, not by a president. Look, think about this. The Democratic Socialist announced today that what they want to do is get rid of the president and have a panel to run the country. Well, shit, they already did it. They did it in Washington, D.C. when Joe Biden was up there stumbling around, shitting in his pants.
Well, can I ask you a question? how many people right now, as of today, can go to their clinic and get their blood tested so they can see what their blood looks like under a microscope?
Yeah, I doubt anybody.
Okay.
I mean, you could ask for a blood smear, but half of them don't know what they're looking for. How many years have you been
Yeah, but
watching me and Dawn go, oh my
yeah,
God, that's what this is. Oh
we've
my
got
God, that's what this is.
plenty of people that have showed videos of after you die what they're finding in your blood, in your in your veins and things like that. But when you go to the doctor and you say, I want you to let's go to the lab in your doctor's office, and I want you to take some of my blood and I want you to look at it under a microscope while we're looking at it, why it's fresh right from me. I want you to just tell me what's in it. How come we're not having more and more laboratories coming out saying we're getting all these people and this is what's in their blood? We need to do something. It's an epidemic, but nobody's talking about it, hardly anyone. And the few that are, they're trying to get it out, but it's just now starting to happen. It's been all this time where we're just now starting to see that stuff, and everybody's demanding. See, this is what's hard. Everyone demands somebody to be arrested. Well, okay, let's say we arrest Hillary Clinton. We take her up there. What are we going to charge her with? Where's all the evidence to put Hillary Clinton behind bars? You have to have enough judges that aren't corrupt or paid for to be able to present the case and to keep her there and to have the stuff presented without it being thrown out. Okay, a lot of people don't understand. That's why Trump's trying to release all this, declassify all this stuff, because you have to have the evidence to take them to court. Okay, and look, I already said a few minutes ago that Florida is going right now, sending their AG to Washington, D.C. to collect all this stuff that Tulsi Gabbard has put out that's been declassified, so that they do have a reason to go back to their state and start prosecuting. And they said they're gonna have indictments by next week. That's what they're hoping. So we have to be patient and make sure we do it right, because if you don't have all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted and everything taken care of, guess what? It gets thrown out. And if you try someone and they get acquitted because of it, guess what? You can't try them again. That's the way our country is set up. So it's got to be done right. It's got to be done the right way, or people are not going to ever pay for it.
I kind of hinted around about this before, but let me tell you this story. Mm-hmm. So my battle buddy in my thing that I do lives in Nashville. He's also, let me tell you this. When the Scud missiles were being fired by Saddam Hussein into Israel, the Patriot missiles that we had weren't doing the right thing. They weren't picking the Scuds up. So Ed and I, who had worked for a weapons company, we both programmed, and we were working on a thing, and he was doing all the radar and I was doing all the sonar programming for the devices on there. So we had known each other since the 90s. And I'm at a meeting. I worked at the drug court in Sumner County, and we were having a meeting with AA people about the drug court people we were sending there and how they're doing and all this. And I get a phone call from my buddy, and he says, hey man, look, his wife needed a ride to the doctor. So I wanted to run by my house before I went to go pick her up to take her to the doctor. And I walk in, and I was drinking those V8 fruit drinks. I was like, it's the only thing I drank, that and water. So I go in my house and I drink that, and I go pick his wife up, and we drive up to a town that's about 15 miles away. And she goes in the back for her doctor's appointment, and I fell out. I mean, fell out right in the waiting room. So the nurse goes and runs and gets the doctor, and he comes out and he's like, look, I'm in her appointment right now. Go to the hospital. So I go down to the VA, and my heart rate is like 3 or 4 beats a minute. I'm not breathing. They take my blood. This guy comes in, and I'm there like 14 hours until I stabilize. They got nothing they can give me, nothing they can do. You're either going to make it or not make it. So it came time for me to be released, and they said there'd be a vehicle out by your car. Follow him. So it's a Tennessee State Patrolman, and he drives right to where I live. He rolls his window down when I park. He said, "Don't leave your house." He said, "It's easier for us to keep eye on you if you don't move, and we don't want to be following you all over town, so just stay home." So the next day I get a call from my buddy, and he says, "Hey, come and get some sushi with me." I'm like, "It's kind of early." He goes, "Just come." So we go to our local sushi hangout. His wife is there. I'm there. He's there. And this guy that I've never met before comes in, and he introduces him to me. And he says that he's from the NSA. Now, this guy, we're sitting there eating sushi, just chatting it up. And this guy from the NSA tells me that they found and have arrested an MS-13 gang member who climbed up my balcony. And I used to leave my balcony door open because I had a cat. He comes in my house, fucks around for a couple of minutes, and then leaves. Right? So that was at the very beginning of me trying to come forward about everything I knew and going against Fauci. We were literally having arguments on the MedCram website about how to respond to this. And I was arguing with him about herd immunity. And I was saying this was caused by the government and no American should ever have to pay a penny to get out of it. And man, he was just saying the craziest shit in there. Dr. Roger Sawalt can attest to all of this, just like Dr. Campbell can attest to a lot of things that went on with the UK team that was working on all of this stuff. Because there were people all over the world. Japan was really fired up about coming up with solutions for all of this. So this was a global effort. And, you know, I got slammed with having to try to keep it all organized as far as the American counterintelligence went. And so that is one of the NSA things that I told you about that happened to me, besides the fact that they locked me in that VA hospital. And I found out from people in that VA who my dad, when he was over that, when right before he was the epidemiologist for the state of Tennessee, he was the chief of staff of that hospital. And several people came in there and they said, "Man, don't go to sleep in here." I'm like, "Man, just fucking tell me." And they're like, "They're bringing J6ers here, young, healthy J6ers, and they're leaving in their corpses before they leave." And right after that is when Wolfgang came in from CIA and walked in and said, "He's going with me. Fuck you. Why did you bring him here?" Right? So I drove home and I got a picture of blood all over my shit in my living room because for 3 days, blood poured out of my nose like somebody had put drain cleaner in there, some shit. So when I say there was 2 assassination attempts on me, I'm not making that shit up. The NSA and the CIA both had to get involved in those cases. Yeah. Right? So that's what we were up against. You know, you might think Sleepy Joe Biden and all of this bullshit, what they did to President Trump, what they did to people like me and the poor bastards that didn't survive it. And we got a long list of them. They put a star up, doesn't even have your fucking name on it, on a wall at Langley. And they don't even acknowledge who the fuck you are. You just died. A star, and that's it. Right? And we got people in the deep state sending out hitmen on other people in the deep state. That's the reality we're living in. I'm not talking about last week. I'm talking about 2018, 2019, 2020, that I was watching people disappear around me. And then that horse shit, okay, they put people in a VA mental ward. Somehow they died in there, right? What the fuck? And now we know that they never should have been in there because it was an FBI hoax. Yep. Put on by Chris Wray. I don't give a shit, man. The shit people talk about on social media makes me so fucking sick. I can't see straight. The bullshit people put out there that really doesn't matter. This is not a me issue. This is, I didn't ask to be born. And this path I went on reveals everything that really happened. And I'm too humble to make myself a star and talk about how the media does me and all this shit, because I go blow the whistle and tell this to everybody. I just want to tell the truth to small groups of people who will then go tell that truth and send them to this video and make them call their congressman. What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing?
Yep.
And it's a question that needs to be asked. We need to have a citizen panel and put senators out there from both sides and ask them questions. Watch them plead the fucking fifth, just like Fauci did. That's
yeah.
the world we live in.
That's 100%. I 100% agree with you. I wish we could do that. I wish there was a way for us to be able
But
to.
that's our right.
I
We
know, but
have the
how do we do it?
right.
How
No,
do we
you
set
don't.
up the thing? How do we set up something to where the citizens can do something like that?
Well, I don't
without
know, but
being
I can tell you this, man, the way the temperature is. All right, so I go to the range today and I always meet people. I talk to people. I'm a real outgoing person, right?
Yeah.
I'm always busy with work, but I'm a social butterfly when I get out, right? And I walk up and this guy's got headphones on and he takes them off and we're sitting there and introducing and talking. And he was talking literally about some of the things that I just said, right, that you'd think nobody knows about, and he knew every bit of it. And he's like, well, God damn it, I hope they do something. I can't fucking stand that piece of shit Fauci. He talked about Hillary Clinton, right? Everyone thinks that it's in their head. That's what the gaslighting did. When someone can stand in front of you with a fucking flame burning in their hand and tell you there's no candle there, when you start thinking they're right and you're not wrong, that's that gaslighting and you have been brainwashed. And we got thrown in jail for talking about what we saw. We got all this shit happen to us. Everything from doctors who had their licenses stripped away for trying to save lives.
Yep.
Okay, everybody saw all of this shit, and I might be sitting here talking, but I'm not talking. I'm just verifying for you that everything that you thought you saw is exactly what you saw. And this bullshit ABC, NBC, they use our airwaves that American tax dollars paid for the radio networks that give. They don't pay one fucking penny, and the taxpayer paid for that. And what are they using it for? To brainwash the whole fucking society into walking in a door and letting them kill you. That's exactly what unfolded in Nazi Germany. Hey, we're having showers today. Where are they? Right here in this boxcar. And then open the door on the other side and fling the bodies out in pre-dug ditches. That's what the fucking people are fucking doing right now. The ones carrying the stupid Palestine flag, the ones who are swearing they're socialist and shit, you are buying into this goddamn shit like no other. And this is 1938 Germany.
Yep.
Everybody needs to get a fucking grip.
Yep. I mean, it's scary, man. I just can't believe some people are so blind. But I wanted to bring this up, and I think it's a really, really good information. But he does have some good stuff on his channel and on his show. I'm not saying I agree with all of it that they say, because I think the whole thing with the Smith-Mundt act that Obama signed to let basically the press get away with using propaganda against the people.
Lie to the people.
Yeah, to be able to lie to us and not have to tell us the truth, because it helped move along the whole story that Obama and all them knew was about to come out, and they wanted to make sure that that was done. So I want to play this because it's really, really, really interesting. So here we go.
Hey, you never read a little Bill's diary. Well, it never said anything about a grown man. we got our hands on Dr. Anthony Fauci's diary. Viewer warning. We're going to read from it, and it's going to make you very angry. Now, I know what you're thinking. It feels a little invasive reading another person's diary, but this isn't just anyone. This is a man responsible for devastating lockdowns and for funding the type of experiments that may have caused 1 million American deaths. If there's a theme from this diary, which is over 1,000 pages, it is this. Dr. Anthony Fauci is dishonest, almost always wrong, and is intoxicated with fame. As thousands of Americans were dying every day, here's what America's top doctor wrote, secretly to himself. Dear diary, the press is going wild with me. It is not hyperbole to say that today I am the most famous and talked about person in the country and one of the most recognizable persons in the world. The situation with my national and international fame is explosive and really unimaginable. The press is still hot and heavy about me. POTUS seems to be enamored of me, even though I am taking the spotlight away from him. Now, Fauci's writing about the press like it's a woman he's making love to. During the lockdowns, Fauci apparently spent hours Googling himself, reading every article, even going into the comments section. Anthony was on Tyra Banks' Instagram page, you know, America's Top Model. He writes, Dear Diary, one person said that Tyra was sexy, but that I was even more sexy than she was. And Fauci agreed. He clicked on a petition to name him sexiest man alive. He memorialized that over 10,000 people signed it. Didn't win, but as a consolation, they cast America's sexiest man alive to play him.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Anthony Fauci. First, I'd like to thank all the older women in America who have sent me supportive, inspiring, and sometimes graphic emails. Now, there's been a lot of misinformation out there about the virus. And yes, the president has taken some liberties with our guidelines.
Fauci kind of felt like Brad Pitt. They all wanted selfies with me, he wrote. They even wanted him on Dancing with the Stars. The Fauci-meister was enamored with the stars, who suddenly, not sure how, got a hold of his cell. Dear Diary, had a great call with Barbara Streisand. I told her that I work listening to her songs on Alexa. She really did not know what Alexa was. I accidentally butt-called her later in the evening. I brought the phone over to Alexa and asked to play songs by Barbara Streisand. And when the song came on loud and clear, she started laughing and absolutely loved it. As someone who always considered himself a celebrity, finally the doctor was getting his due. Unfortunately for Fauci, to achieve celebrity status, Americans had to suffer. But Fauci knew he was destined for greatness. Even back in 2013, he wrote in his diary that he was a rock star and that the government was trying to keep him off TV because everyone was so jealous. 7 years later, his time had come and he was going to ride it.
Here's one that says, I got my first dose of the Fauci ouchie. I told him that I bought his bobblehead, and he was super cool about it.
I saw your bobblehead today.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was great.
PPL made fun of these Dr. Fauci prayer candles, but we got my dad one for his birthday in November. So he lit it every night, and everyone in my immediate family was fully vaccinated, so maybe there's something there.
Was Dr. Fauci busy trying to slow the spread? Well, apparently he had plenty of time to write about it.
I want to pause it for a second. That is kind of creepy. 'Cause if you go back and you look at like that, like he's reading these letters live on this girl's show. Is she vaccinated? How is she? Is she healthy? How is she doing? What about the guy that wrote in the letter that said his whole family got vaccinated? How are they doing? Who were they? Because he put their names were there, on there. So that would be interesting if there was any way someone could go through and start looking that up. Because remember, just like I said, when I first started putting stuff up about you and Dawn being on my first earlier shows, and then I also had Brandy from a group, an organization that works to save children, from being trafficked and stuff. and that stuff was taken down, all thanks to Google and, you know, YouTube, because they don't like you talking about those things. At least they didn't then. And one of my other ones I got taken down was I did a 7-minute video about Comet Ping Pong and the emails between Podesta and Hillary Clinton. That was taken down, and they said I was a cyber bully. That's what they said. That's what the reason why they took me down. So you know, they demonetized me, and I put that thing up there that said that I make the same, basically the same video over and over again, and that my viewers would be tired of watching my videos because it's the same video basically every single time, you know, I do a video and stuff like that. That was their reasoning why they demonetized me after a month. So it was like, okay, how do I see people every day making videos and they're talking about the same thing. It's either the news or it's about, you know, what they're eating or, you know, what they're making or whatever. It's the same thing. I mean, how is all these hundreds of thousands of other videos any different? So I don't know. I don't understand it. But it doesn't matter because they're going to find a way to, you know, keep people from being able to say what you want to say or what they don't agree with, because the interview with the woman that used to be CEO of YouTube saying that she took down videos that she didn't agree with, or that didn't push the jab and all that different stuff. And then you had the other gentleman that came out that used the Google whistleblower that got fired because he you know, came out saying that certain things that they were doing were wrong, and he was testifying in the for the state of Texas, you know, talking to them about the stuff that he had, and that for them to look into this because it was really scary stuff. But the thing is, you know, if you say something that someone else doesn't agree with, they'll just squash you like a bug, right? If they had the power, just like what happened to Parler, you know. Parler was growing and growing with free speech. People were leaving Twitter, they were leaving Facebook, and they were leaving, you know, all these different platforms to go to that. Well, you know, Google didn't want them around, and neither did YouTube, and neither did I think it was Amazon or whoever, what other groups. And so they just turned off their servers, took them away from them. And
Let me go to Elon a minute. And
yeah.
my personal, you know,
Mm-hmm.
with my personal part of me and him.
Yeah.
He didn't own Twitter when we first started talking.
Uh-huh.
And one of the things that I explained to him in our early talks, because he was one of them. I hate to tell you, but he was one of them when I first started talking to him, right? He and I probably aren't, I mean, I'm a celibate, sober, 65-year-old man, right? He's got multiple wives, kids by all of them, and likes to party, right? Not the kind of guy I would hang out with, but in my conversations with him, every bit of this that you're going through right now. It was a planned operation to take your First Amendment rights away from you. Now, let's get to the fork in the road. Oh, he buys Twitter. It goes from 300 million comments a day to 2 billion comments a day. And that was where all of us who I just explained a minute ago had been through the gaslighting and all this shit. We're like, look here, I ain't stupid, motherfucker. I know what I saw. And people came on X to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And when we broke that censorship of an entire, over half the country, they censored us, right? This was an operation.
Even the president.
They thought they were going to do the same thing in 2024 that they got away with in 2020, but Trump got involved. He didn't even announce he was going to run until the last minute. And there were conversations between him and Elon, you know, and there was actually a point when he was talking about how much he hated Trump. I was like, look, I've known Trump since 1980. My grandmother cooked on his yacht one time. He went down to Savannah, Georgia. He calls up the the Chamber of Commerce says, who's the best cook in this town? Well, she was the culinary arts director at SCAD, and he suggested she do it. So we go, and at the end of it all, we get a ride in the yacht, you know. And a couple years later, him and Herschel Walker came and bought a business that I worked at. So I had these two exposures with him. Well, I mean, my grandmother said to me, he's the nicest man I ever met. I'm like, well, shit, that's, if my grandmother said that, that's good enough. Then I actually met him with Herschel Walker. I'm like, damn, this guy really is cool. So I'm following his career. I'm watching him donating money to the Clintons and supporting the Democrat Party and all this other kind of bullshit. I saw all of that. But what I also saw was when a kid needed a heart transplant and the heart's over in the Netherlands and the kid lives in Colorado, he sends his private plane free of cost and flies the heart to Colorado. Or the widow who the bank's trying to take her house away from her, and he just lays down the $2 or $3 million to the bank and says, best of luck to you. That's the Donald Trump I knew. And so I told those stories to Elon. I said, you really should go meet him. I bet you'll like it, you know? And so the two of them had a meeting, and that's really was the turning point in what I like to call the counter revolution. And if you'll take a look at the Davis Hansen, you can see in every one of his talks he does out of his office, he wrote a book called The Counter Revolution, right? So we had a revolution going on. We were right in the middle of it. They took our freedom of speech. They took privacy, the 9th Amendment. They took the 4th Amendment and turned the courts into a weapon. Okay, they wanted our guns and openly talked about gun grabs. They had a few things where you could go sell your gun. People bought into that dumb shit. Listen, I'm a Native American. Keep your gun. We've been fighting terrorism since 1492. Not just Americans, but the Spanish when they arrived, and the French when they came, and the British when they came. You fucking Europeans are fucking crazy. Okay, let me just be blunt about it. You're just fucking crazy. You got to fight wars and play games and lie and do all this shit. Man, the Native Americans, they just chilled. They just ate enough food and they just grazed their crops and all that shit. And even when the Europeans showed up, they had open arms. To do what? To get slaughtered. Okay, I don't push all of that shit. And the reason is because I'm a lot European and got a little African blood in me too. And I don't have a race issue in my fucking body or where people come from or anything. I'm very happy and grateful for the world that I live in today with AI. Because now I don't have to type in the search engine. I can just ask it, and it can search the entire history of internet shit in a fraction of the time that I used to be able to search it back when we had dial-up, you know? I mean, I love my Tesla. I love to put the address in Augusta, and it parks me in Washington, D.C. at my Airbnb. I love everything about the world we live in. I don't live in yesterday. And a lot of people live in yesterday, but you don't wake up and see where you're living today and where you're standing. This is a cycle that repeats itself. It happened in the 14 and 15 and 1600s in America. It happened in 20th century Germany, and it's happened in 21st century around the world. So, yeah, am I being fervent tonight? Yeah, I'm being fervent. And you know why? Because I have sacrificed my life to get the truth about COVID out. And a man I met is a young man in my early 20s who I've worked around my whole life in other research issues, who flipped sides, lost his fucking mind, and attacked the American people. And I wanted the fucking truth to come out, and I have spent a fortune doing it. And he sat there and pleaded the fifth. I mean, if they give me a vote to bring a military tribunal, I'll fucking vote yes, and I'll show up to testify. Because he needs to pay for what he did. But that's the only yesterday issue I'm worried about is an issue that was still part of my life yesterday. Once I see closure, I detach from shit like you would not believe, man. I detach. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Don't fuck with my peace. Right? I'm trying to build a better tomorrow today. I don't want to talk about how fucked up yesterday was. People that talk about how fucked up everything are bitches. Because if you don't have a solution, you should keep your fucking mouth shut. And that relates back to what I was saying about the whole shebang on social media, the conversation in X, the shit that producers decide to put on their news shows. And let me just go to this real quick, and I'll make it real quick. The reason that I wrote what I wrote to the PIAB today is because today there was a perfect example of how China is going through the same thing we're going through, with people inside his government basically ripping his government down. So Fox says China sent 400 missiles to Iran. I'm like, that's bullshit, right? Next thing they're saying, it's like China. I'm like, all right, motherfucker. The CCP funds a company in Hong Kong that makes these weapons, and a rumor came out that China was gonna, send these to Iran. And that's okay. So the minister of the government yesterday, right? That's propaganda coming out of China about the missiles. Yesterday, the actual person in the government, the minister in the government, came out in China and said, we want shipping lanes open. We don't give a shit what it takes. So they're not about to give missiles to the country that's stopping the fucking thing from being open. That's fucking common sense. So I sent that to the president today, and then I explained further how it's happening in Russia, how you got Ukrainians behind the lines in Russia, Russians behind the lines in Ukraine. Okay, so who's funding this clusterfuck? You got the neocon globalists with tech money that want to remove all the borders and make it a fucking free-for-all, and for nobody to have a job, but we'll just send you some money. That's the most insane shit ever. Who wants a fucking life like that? Right? Nobody wants that life.
But
so I sent that to him.
They thrive on the chaos.
Well, Victor Davis Hanson, he went farther with that on the Daily Signal today, and he explained the politics behind it. And then what's the Nick Kidd guy that goes around and does videos? He did the most amazing video. It's out right now. Everybody should go watch it. It's on YouTube. He went up to NYU, where the center of communism in America has been since the mid-50s. Mm-hmm. And he's asking everybody there. Some people totally against all that shit. Some people totally for all that shit, the Marxism, communism shit. But these are people who have been living with it for decades, grew up in it. You still have conservatives that spoke. And then you had people trying to explain socialism and Marxism and Islam. And so the way that I explained it was, you've got two people that hate each other trying to upend the world, right? That's just going to be another war, a bigger war with more countries involved in it, right?
Yeah.
I explained all that to them and said, the three leaders need to get together, isolate the enemy as radicalism, clean up the radicalism in your own country, and then do whatever the fuck you want in your country. Is up to your people to vote. And the reason that I wrote that letter was because Fox News gave false information, right? So you asked about Fox News, and I'm not sure about them and all that shit. Well, there's a prime example, but that was a door that I decided to use that got put in my life by, the higher power. Mm-hmm. And I took advantage of it. And that's what I mean about look for these open doors and these open windows when you can stand up and make a difference and say, hey, you don't have my First Amendment anymore. Not only that, but you can't abuse me with the Fourth Amendment. You can't take my Ninth Amendment right. You're damn sure not going to take my gun, right? And that is the counter revolution. is literally us fighting to bring the Constitution back to life. And it's a damn fight. So, don't be afraid to fight. They ain't afraid to fight. I know all the old ladies and singing their dumb songs out of tune and the dumb shit they do. Just yesterday around the globe, there were fucking senseless murders of innocent people being done by one of these groups I'm talking about. It wasn't isolated to Chicago or San Francisco. It was in Paris. It was in Germany, in Munich. It's all over the fucking world. And if those three men don't get their shit together and start working on the enemy, we're in real trouble.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And the thing is that that's one of the reasons why I feel like I do what I'm doing, is because there's so many people who don't know half this stuff because they don't watch the news. They hear something they don't like, they change the channel and watch reruns, because they don't want to know about all the bad stuff. They go, I work all day. When I come home, I don't want to listen to the bad stuff.
I totally get that.
I know, but I understand that. But the thing is, it only helps us in the long run when you, just like you said, when a person goes to vote, that they have some information to use to make sure they're making the right decisions when they do go to the voting booth. And the reason I believe that we're in this mess that we are today is too many people just go and they push D, or they
Man,
push.
my dad and my brother used to fist fight.
See,
Right.
so,
And so I had a long day, lost an important soccer. I'm a kid, right? 18, 17, whatever, still high school years. And my brother had already left and had a young child, and the two of them get into it. And I'm sitting here trying to eat, right? And I stood up from the table and I walked over where they were, and they were like two wrestlers in a WWE match. And I said, I don't know which one of you motherfuckers thinks I'm going to join their side, but the other motherfucker ain't going to like it. And they immediately started talking nice to each other and left the room. Now, let me take that story to where we are today with numbers. 43%, the largest group of us, are these moderate people like you and me and Elon Musk and everybody who, right, we're just good people that want good things. Okay. Now, you got 26% of Republicans and 27% of Democrats are completely radicalized with the most bullshit shit ever. They lie to media, they lie to each other, they hide their crimes, they steal American taxpayer dollars left and right. Now, we're the bigger group. And when we make that decision in the fight, in the lead ups to elections, the side we pick wins the fucking fight. Just like me with my dad. It does that with parties. It does that with countries. It does that in every way. That the majority of humanity are level-headed. And then, but if you add those two groups together, the radicals, they're a bigger group than us. There are more radicals right now. The problem is half of them believe one thing and half of them believe the other thing. And if the middle moderates, us, the ones who decide, the people that go to work every day and pay taxes and don't want to hear about politics and just want to hug their children and sit around the dinner table, right? I mean, that's the reality of what we're living in. We're outnumbered by these two groups together. The only thing that we have working for us right now is that they're too busy fighting each other to figure that out.
Well, you know what? I'm grateful about a lot of the things that have happened, not because of the outcome from it. It's the fact that because I got involved in doing certain things, I've met so many people I never would have met.
No, I'm not directing what I'm saying at you. I'm basically
No, I
screaming
know,
up
but
in the
what I
air.
mean
It's a
is,
rant.
what I mean is, it's that if I hadn't, because I have 4 sisters, okay, and none of them are on X like I do. None of them do YouTube. None of them do any of the stuff that I do. Now, a lot of their opinions are same as mine, but when I talk to them about certain things, like we're in a conversation and I say this, that, or the other about something I was talking about, they go, I never heard about that. You know, they're shocked. And then I'm like, I've been talking about some of this stuff for what, 3 years? You and I've been talking about some of it for almost 3 years. And I'm like, you know, and it's kind of sad to me that we have so many people that are like my sisters, that they're active in their lives, they do their jobs, they come home, take care of their kids and their families and stuff, and then sometimes they go volunteer, you know, for the veterans, or, you know, certain things like that. But when it comes time to go vote, they really don't, they just vote for a letter. They're not voting for what they're doing. See what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. And you have so many Democrats that vote Democrat just because their parents were Democrats or their grandparents were Democrats. I tell people, vote for what you want your community to be like. What is your vote going to do? Is that person that you're going to vote for, did they talk about what they're going to do for your community or what they're going to do for your state or any of those things? That's what you should be voting for, not because they got an R next to their name.
Go watch that Nick Shirley. Go watch that Nick Shirley video I was telling you about. Because most of what people were saying was, well, he promised this and he promised this and he promised this, and that's why I voted for him, and he ain't doing none of it. As a matter of fact, he made it worse. $11 billion left. Okay, brought up inside the Nick Shirley thing is the fact that Chase Manhattan left. Half the stock market left. They're in Texas now.
Oh, you talking about in New York? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go check out Nick Shirley's what
Remember
he did
that one
today.
thing, when you say, you know, when you be careful what you wish for because you just might get it.
That's right.
Yeah, because, you know, it's truthful. But I'm going to finish this real quick with Jesse, and then we'll move on to the last one I
being
have.
plastered everywhere. Dear Diary, donuts are being named after me. T-shirts have my picture on them and are being sold. San Francisco radio is dedicating a song to me. Coloring pictures with crayons for my picture. Me. Fauci even saved cartoons of himself, of him looking like a superhero. Hero was actually one of his favorite words. In his diary, he mentioned it 50 times. His favorite word, though, not N95 or natural immunity, those words barely uttered. It was press. Press, mentioned over 600 times. For Fauci, doing press was like watching porn.
The single most respected voice in the pandemic, it's Dr. Anthony Fauci.
The man who's become known as America's doctor. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease doctor.
Who are seen to many as a superhero.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, American hero.
Fauci and the media were so attracted.
Look, did you see all the people that were just shown? Did you see anyone that people that we listen to?
I don't hear them apologizing any more than I hear Fauci apologizing. As far as I'm concerned, it's the same shit.
Yeah, but we found that out by the questions that were asked and who asked what. You see what I mean? It's like I was saying, I went on my rant earlier because not a single Democrat asked a question because they already knew what the answer was going to be. So they didn't ask any questions. They just gave their statements. That's basically all they did. They each gave a statement. It was probably printed out and handed to them before they went up there to do their little thing to make it look like they cared. But to me, I already knew that was going to happen. I don't expect them to do anything. I don't see a single Democrat walking out on the steps of their Capitol and saying, you know, this is wrong and this person needs to be punished. You know, nothing. They're not going to give us anything because they're not going to.
Yeah, I think Rand, who chaired the meeting yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I love Rand, and he's really smart. We've talked face to face. I talked a long time to his wife Kelly one time, but he's got a personal right? I mean, I'll call Fauci a piece of shit and all that kind of stuff like that, but I
Yeah.
actually had hope he would tell the truth yesterday, right? So, and I'm glad I didn't spend $1,000 to go up there to hear him plead the fifth 111 times. Boy, now if I would have done that, I might be a little emotional, right? But I saw two of the Democrat council say they wanted to see accountability. I saw several Democrats. Okay, so check Dick Blumenthal out. Richard Blumenthal, who was the first person to speak, went into his spiel, and the whole time I'm sending my intel to the presidential intel community that I found on him, that he was taking money from the Communist Party up in his home state to give speeches at communist gatherings, right? And I also sent in there that we have some credible evidence that he may be on the KGB payroll. Right? Now, that's the motherfucker that was up there telling Fauci how great he is. And I ain't making this shit up. It's the fucking truth, right? So I'm getting to the what I saw. Senator Howley, I call him no nonsense Howley because he don't fuck around. I gave him that nickname. Other people use it. And he talked about the law. Marino talked about the law, right? When they can get over all their personal gains and their ego trips and all that shit and break it down. What's one of the first things that you said opening? We are a nation of laws. It's not a high school fucking class president and all this other shit where you can go in there and argue about what color the balloons are going to be at the spring break. This is serious shit. And they need to check their personality at the fucking door. We didn't hire them to watch them be emotional. We hired them to get to the fucking point, which is the law. And I don't think that those emotional outbursts and all that shit don't benefit us at all. I'm done with that rant.
But it is good to vent. I mean,
Yeah, but that's fine. Vent at the bar. Go to Monocle's, right? Go to El
Not everybody has
Restaurante.
that opportunity,
They got restaurants there, the Capitol Bar and Grill, where George Washington and James Madison sat down and ate. And you can still go eat there and get drunk and say whatever the fuck you want. Have your arguments there.
Like me don't have that. We have to drive a very long ways, and you're not going to drive 48 miles to have a few drinks and then have to drive home.
Oh shit! No, they do it every night anyway. Here's what happens, right?
You hit a deer on the way home.
Don't get me started.
Okay.
He fucking they get in front of the TV cameras and they say all the shit they should say at the bar. And then they go to the bar and sit at the same table and have drinks and decide how they're going to fuck us next. I swear to God, and I've been in a shitload of those, right? I got friends up there and we go out to eat too. And sometimes I'm sitting right next to them, right? And I walk in senators' offices and House reps' offices dealing with them on these kind of issues. And that's the shit show we have. Their little pit-pat ego trip bullshit goes on in front of the camera inside our house, not their house. If you want to act like an immature dick, go get drunk and do it at the fucking bar. When you're in here, you have to have decorum. Decorum's out the window.
Yeah. But this is the last video that I wanted to share. I gotta make sure I pause. Because I thought it was very moving today when I watched it. I shared it myself after I watched this, and you could tell that he cares. And to me, at least it came across to me that he cares about the people and about what he's asking. He's emotional. He seems, and it's
he
sad.
says a lot of the shit I said tonight.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, that's right.
I wish more people could see this. I wish more people could see that these people are trying to get to the bottom of the truth, to get the evidence they need to hold people accountable, that all this has to happen. That's what we are. Just like I said, we are a government of laws.
Yeah,
Men, okay?
that's
And that's
right.
in the JC Creed. We believe that faith in God gives meaning and purpose to human life, that the brotherhood of man transcends the sovereignty of nations, all that stuff. And I believe all that stuff. I believe in our country. I believe in America. And I still believe that she's the best country in the world, no matter what,
Absolutely.
hands down. And we're the youngest. And everyone looks up to us. They're afraid of us when we threaten action. And people want to come here to get free stuff or to change their lives, depending on who taught them about our country. If they're taught that you come here and you fight for what you want and you get to keep it and be an American and live as an American, or you're taught, go there, take what you can, and we're going to take over that country. Two different points of view are walking over our borders. And I don't want the one that wants to take over our country. I want the one that's going to come here and assimilate with the rest of us hardworking Americans that say their Pledge of Allegiance. That's what I want. And I don't think that's crazy. Okay? I don't think that's crazy. I'm a military brat and I believe in freedom. But I want to play this because I think it's very informative, and I wish more people had paid more attention to how our government works. Here we go.
Why would I be criticized by a bureaucrat for doing my very best as a healthcare? This is a rhetorical question. But why? Why would the government, who's never treated a patient for COVID, you can read all the things you want, but you're not there. You're not seeing patients. You're not watching people die, intubating patients right there with that disease in your face, watching it happen, watching the development of this disease and actually learning from it. But I'm being told by bureaucrats what's right and wrong. And what's funny is everything I was censored on, I was proven to be right. Pretty crazy, isn't it? You said in an interview that you gave as part of an audiobook written by Michael Spector that you believed an institutional should make it hard for people to live their lives so they feel pressured to get vaccinated. Could we run the audio clip on that, please?
You think can be done about it? I have to say that I don't see a big solution other than some sort of mandatory vaccination. I know federal officials don't like to use that term.
Once people feel empowered and protected legally, you are going to have schools, universities, and colleges are going to say, you want to come to this college, buddy? You're going to get vaccinated. Lady, you're going to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Big corporations like Amazon and Facebook and all of those others are going to say, you want to work for us, you get vaccinated. And it's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bullshit. And
I'm pausing it for a second. I think it was last week and 3 or 4 times before that I played a leaked video of the CEO, the owner of Facebook, telling his own people, don't get the shot. We don't know what it will do to your DNA. Okay? And here's Fauci talking about, all of these companies forcing the people with threats of losing their job if they don't get jabbed up. It's disgusting. It just repulses me. And when I saw that dweeby piece of shit sitting at the speech that Trump was giving, and all his kids were sitting there and stuff, just made me want to throw up.
Well, Zuckerberg, check this out. Now, his wife was on contract with Department of Energy. She's Chinese, by the way.
Yes.
But she was attached to the part of the Department of Energy that was involved in the vaccine development, research. They were getting grants and everything. Now, I'm not going to say that his wife went to him and said, dude, whatever you do, don't let your employees take this shit. That's an assumption. But it certainly is more than likely and possible that she was honest with him about all the same shit that I knew. She knew. She was one of the scientists in the laboratories working on the shit, right? So the FBI comes to him and they're using him, and he goes ahead and censors us from telling the truth. He was willing to save his company, but he threw away the lives of millions of Americans at the exact same time. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that that's the people that I want to see punished. The people that knew, don't do it, or knew enough information to make an informative decision for themselves, but they wouldn't let you or me say the same thing he's telling his own people at the top of his corporation, or we got taken down. I've had it happen
Or like
more
going
than
and getting your hair
one
done at your
time.
salon, or having Thanksgiving dinner, or the fact we couldn't go worship God.
But
Okay,
you can go to
that
the strip
didn't
bar.
have anything to do with
Yeah, but
distancing.
you can go to the strip bar.
Yeah, these people went outside, right? Measured and put marks down so they'd be 6 feet apart, and they were worshiping in the lawns of their church, and the entire congregation was arrested. If you think that had something to do with COVID and not suppression of Christianity and our rights, then you missed the point.
Yeah, it had a combination of all of those things in it, depending on who was waving their hand on what they wanted done at that moment. But I'm going to go ahead and finish this real quick.
And they get vaccinated.
Thank you. Are all objections to COVID vaccinations ideological bullshit, Dr. Fauci?
No, they're not, and
Thank
that's
you.
not what I was referring to.
Well, in reference to making it hard for people to get education, traveling, working, I'd say it very much was in context. And I take great offense to this. Miss Allison Williams testified before this committee about losing her job because she sought an exemption for ESPN's vaccine mandate, which came from recommendations from bureaucrats like yourself. She and her husband were actively working with a fertility expert, a physician, on how to get pregnant, and agreed with the premise that she was young, healthy, wanted to get pregnant, and shouldn't get the vaccination for medical purposes. But she was fired because you made it hard, just like you said in your statement, because you didn't want to make sure that the ideological bullshit got in the way of her working, of living her life, of making a medical decision with her healthcare professional. I think America should take great offense to this. That's exactly what you meant when you said making it hard for people to live without getting the vaccination. You affected people's ability to work, travel, be educated, to actually flourish in American society, to self-determine, as we're all given.
I want to stop for a second, because in the position I was in New Orleans, okay, I could do stand-in work. You could do all the different kinds of stuff on different productions for TV or movies, music videos, commercials, things like that. But when this person started forcing the mandate stuff, I was told you have to have this card to be able to apply to work and do these things. And I was like, okay, what do you have to do to get this card? Well, you have to get the jab. Well, what if you don't want to get the jab? Then I guess you don't work. But this is what I'm told, okay? So the hypocrites behind some of this stuff, and this isn't in California, this is in Louisiana, and a lot of people coming from California to do these different jobs in commercials and music videos and TV series and movies. And they're coming, and they're all masked up and wearing gloves, and they're all freaking out thinking everybody's dying from the COVID or whatever. And then you find out when you're sitting around, there's a place that we call the holding tent. That's where you usually sit when you're in holding, waiting for your turn to go out there to do your thing or whatever. It's to keep everybody where they're supposed to be, and you're supposed to be reading your script or whatever it is, right? Well, I hear them talking about their cards, that they got this card so they could do this job and that job or whatever. And a lot of them were talking about how they paid doctors to give them a card. They didn't get the shot because they didn't trust the science behind it, but they wanted to work. So they're willing to let you get the shot and make you get the shot so you could work, but they're willing to have a card when they didn't get a shot. See, that's the sad, pathetic point of view that I have of the whole thing, is because I got to see a lot of fake people, that were happy to watch you get a shot for the same job that you're getting by cheating. It's pathetic and disgusting. So guess what? I didn't get the shot and I didn't get the card because I was offered you pay this many hundreds of dollars and you can get this card and you can have all the jobs you want. And I'm like, I'm not going to do it at the expense of other people who can't get this card.
I'm going to grab a word you just said, happy.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone who's listening here is a very intelligent person. I'm sure of that if they've stuck around.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to the early Obama years when people were wiping their ass with the American flag, and they decided that we didn't want under God and with liberty and justice for all to be said every day by children in school. Those children are now the young adults being paid by George Soros as anarchists against our great nation. Now, I want to go to what he has summed up perfectly here, and I wish, it would have been great if he would have said this in this hearing. What Tony Fauci did and what was meant to be done way back in the beginning with the changes that I just mentioned that happened in the early Obama years.
Mm-hmm.
He took away from the American people life. He took away from the American people liberty, and he took away from people the right to pursue happiness. He basically wiped our Declaration of Independence off the map. And he just summed it up right here. My patient doesn't have the right to live. I can't make a decision with my patient in this room. Right? If a woman has a medical issue and she needs an abortion, she and her doctor should talk about that in a room. And if she needs it, he needs to be able to give it to her. Or otherwise, he's stealing her right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a child that shows up on a scan with oogenesis of the corpus callosum, which is something that happens sometimes, okay? The corpus callosum is that thing in your brain that tells your shit to go left or right. Right? Here it comes. The left side goes to the right side. The shit switches in your brain. Can you imagine what living without one of those fucking things does to you, man? So there are these kind of like tetralogy of Fallot issues in the heart and other significant birth defects where it's just gone wrong, right? And they have a solution. But people talking about abortion in the streets make me sick. They're throwing their own HIPAA rights in the trash. If they've been a person who went through that medical procedure. I got no other opinion on abortion beside that because I can't get pregnant. Now, if I happen to be with someone and they get pregnant and they want to go get an abortion, then I do have a say. But that's another private conversation between two people who made one decision that's now led to another one. Mm-hmm. Right? So there's no black and white. But it's black and white that they have systematically destroyed the Constitution, systematically trashed the Pledge of Allegiance and the Declaration of Independence. And if I'm playing chess, one of the first pieces that I want to move is the one that does that.
Well, this video that I've been playing, this is not from the hearings yesterday, as you know, because he is
Right.
actually answering. This is from the committee hearings before that. So before they decide to bring him before the hearings that he's in now.
Yeah, I haven't missed any of those. I've got pictures from
Okay.
inside those
Well, I
rooms
just wanted
during those.
the people that are watching to know that this guy wasn't special, that he actually answered. And I love the fact that he played his own voice on the audio. But the thing is, you can see that he gives a shit. And when I hear people say none of them give a fuck, none of them give a crap. They could care less about us. Blah blah blah. There are people there that really do care, and they're fighting for us. And when you say shit like that, and it gets passed on and passed on, like Tulsi Gabbard, I played earlier, I honestly believe that she gives a shit. That's why she did what she did. And she hated to step down, but she had a husband that's ill, and she loves her husband. Just because you're doing this job does not mean you don't have a family that you love and you want to spend time with, and that they need you to be there for them too. Okay?
I love Tulsi. You know, she was a military pilot of fighter jets, and she was a Democrat who became a Republican. How do you not love that person, right?
Well, the thing is, it's not just that. It's not, just like I said, it's not the letter next to you. It's what are you doing each day for your country? What are you doing for your family? What are you doing for yourself? How do you treat people? Look at Fauci. Because of the way Fauci acts, I would immediately think that he's a Democrat or a liberal, not because of what he looks like or how tall he is or what his job is or anything. That has nothing to do with it. My choice is his actions. His actions tell me who he is. Okay. And I get tons of hate because people like him hate me. They want to see me dead. They don't want to see me doing what I'm doing right here. And I pay to do this. Okay. I'm paying to use this software so I can air this. I pay $25 a month just to do it. And that's not counting my internet or my electricity or any of the other stuff that goes in. That's just to have this service to air to 3 places. And I could air to more if I wanted to pay more money each month. Okay. But the thing is, I do it because I feel it's important. Just like I said, I have family members that don't know half this stuff until I talk about it. And they're like, I didn't know anything about that. Because they'd rather go home and watch reruns or a movie they haven't seen, so, that's where we are. And I can't knock someone who's tired. I mean, I get up and when it's cool out at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30, and I'm out there mowing my yard or weed eating or cutting limbs because it's 100 degrees during the day. And I just can't be out there that late, in the afternoon and die from the heat. So
I'm a libertarian when it comes to, like, I don't give a shit who's gay, right? But if you're dressing up in women's clothes, the clothes don't make you a woman, right? What you say, the language game is so out of control. I think it was Victor Davis Hanson might have been in his talk today about how they say Democrat socialist when Democrat and socialist mean two totally opposite things, right? Like they said that opening the border was a humanitarian issue. Well, maybe so, but what it's done is it's ruined life for all of humanity. You got a bunch of people here that told they would be welcome and get all this shit and everything's free. Now you got homeless white people that lost their businesses, got fired, people shutting down during COVID. Those people are out in the street and asylum seekers are driving BMWs that our tax dollars paid for.
Yeah, but see, that's what people ask me about that. And I say one thing every time because it goes to my first thing at the top of my list is our veterans. And if somebody wants to write a great big old check and send it to Africa or India or Ukraine or anywhere else, I'll say this. if we have any homeless veterans or veterans that can't get medical care, can't get glasses, or go to the dentist, then no, not one freaking penny should leave our country and pay for any of that shit unless we are taking care of the people that have already sacrificed for our country, period. Then we can start talking about what we're going to do for these other people. But
Well,
the thing
yeah,
is,
I was
bullshit.
basically, I was backing up what you said, what you stated. Let me put it that way. What you stated was, it doesn't matter what the fuck you say, it's what you do.
That's right.
And the word, and going back to how Congress does with their little bitty fights on the cameras in Congress, and then going out and playing golf together and all that other shit and buddying it up, right? That it's just another form of, right? I mean, our Congress has a responsibility to do what they asked Tony Fauci to do, and you know what that is? Come clean. Stop pleading the fifth.
Tell the truth.
You work for us. Tell the fucking truth and let's move on. Because all the shit you say doesn't define you. We're watching your actions. You don't want to secure the American vote. 80% of Americans across ideological lines have demanded that they secure our vote, and our government won't do it. That's the point right where people start killing each other.
And to me, that just tells me one thing. It tells me that the people that we have in there that are voting no are the ones that know that they won't be elected once it's legal, once it's fair. And that's what it tells me.
Yeah, I set foot in Darfur, and I set foot in Rwanda, and I set foot in Bosnia, and I have been where George Soros orchestrated these situations. And I'm telling you, when they start running around with machetes, it gets shitty really fast.
Yeah, I can believe you. But let me finish this, get this done. He's almost finished.
God-given rights. Shame on you. Dr. Fauci, you've become Dr. Fear. Americans do not hate science. I don't hate science. The American people hate having their freedoms taken from them. You inspired and created fear through mass mandates, school closures, vaccine mandates that have destroyed the American people's trust in our public health institutions. This fear you created will continue to have ripple effects over generations to come. You have already seen its effects in education, in the economy, and everything else. Quite frankly, you said, if you disagree with me, you disagree with science. Dr. Fauci, I disagree with you because I disagree with fear. And with that, I yield.
What a piece of shit. And I can say that and not have any doubt about it, because he is. And I cannot wait to see when all this comes out, how anyone would want to be his lawyer for attorney while he's
That's probably why his lawyer was talking shit. He's like, I can get kicked out of here? Hell yeah, all I gotta do is talk. And he just started talking. He's like, yeah, please don't throw me in the briar patch.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's sad. It's really sad where we are. And I thank God every day for putting me in the situations that he has for me to make the decisions that I've made, because I feel like, I don't know, I'm just thankful that I'm healthy. Other things aren't as great as I wish they were, but that my health, I have my health. So even if I have none of these other things, I lose all this stuff, I can still go to work or do whatever and be able to, start over again, if I can, because I have a life, and I'm healthy and I can take care of myself. But a lot of people don't have that,
I'm a professing Christian, not ashamed of that at all. But I went through a journey in my life where, I went to small Christian schools mostly. And I would go around and tell people that they needed to believe what I believe. I basically wasn't really any different than a Muslim. But the way that my journey took me, I started studying some other religions from other, cultures who were based more on humanistic relations, and there are lessons from Taoism that I think are absolutely incredibly good. I think that Buddhism has some really good knowledge in it, and I think that even in the Hindu and Islamic relations and all, and so now a lot of those pieces of wisdom cross all of those different cultural lines, just like every one of them has a flood story. So I don't mind telling people my own personal beliefs, but I'll listen to anybody's personal beliefs. That is what America was built on, and that's why our door was open to Islam. And for them to come here and attack other religions, that goes beyond not acclimating, but that goes to military activity, right? And it's the stripping of another one of our fundamental rights as American, just within the Bill of Rights. So, yeah, I'm a Christian. I don't beat anybody down about it. As a matter of fact, when I talk to people, I tell them I'm not religious. I'm a spiritual being navigating a physical world. And I'm not saying that in the terms that I'm different than anyone. I'm saying that in the terms that we all are. We got to get along with Mother Earth. You can't go dance at a volcano. You can't go stand like you're going to stop a tsunami. You're not going to walk through the woods and win an argument with a bear, right? Those are the parts of the world that we have to live in, that some wisdom, very few, as much is said in the Bible that we use about those kind of issues. But we can simplify most of it. Like if they threw out every law and they threw out every decision Congress ever made, and we really did have the utopia that people dream of, then there would only be 10 rules to follow. And that's basically the 10 commandments. How do y'all get along with God? How do y'all get along with each other? And how do you get along with yourself? And then the last thing Jesus said when he was ascended was basically what they call the 11th commandment, which is love your brother as you love yourself. Now, the problem with that is historically, societies go through places until they literally become an abomination to God because they don't choose to go by any of those rules. They're murdering children in school. They're running over Christmas parades. They're doing all this shit. Well, historically, you're not going to stop that cycle from occurring. And that's why this utopia that they're offering people is completely out. Now, let's say 8.4 billion people in the world decide that they want to do what I just said. You just made governments obsolete. You don't need police. You don't need social welfare. You don't need any of that shit because the people are doing it just because they treat other people they want to be treated. And who the fuck doesn't know the golden rule, right? Do you think any of the videos we watched tonight that people in there, Tulsi Gabbard, I guarantee you Josh Hawley does. I can name people all over Washington that I know have a fundamental belief in a human existence like I do. And every one of them follows those 10 rules and that 11th rule, and they also follow the golden rule.
100% agree with you. But I just want to say thank you to everyone who hung out with us tonight for over almost 3 hours. That's a long one.
I was just looking at that. I'm like, man, I can't talk this much. I don't ever talk all week long, and I come here and just can't shut my mouth.
It's something that means something to you. That's like I said, it's good to rant when it's about something that you feel is important that needs to be shared. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because if they don't want to hear, they just have to change the channel. You know what I mean? That's the good thing about it. But I just want to say thank you so much for you joining me again tonight. And hopefully this is going to lead somewhere. I think it's going to lead somewhere good. I think we're going to start seeing good things happening. It's just that we have to be patient. How many years did it take us to get where we are today? You see what I mean? So we have to be able to give Trump and his administration the time that they deserve, which is 4 years, right? Trump
Well,
barely got his 4 years the first time because they had this planned, what we're going through right now, the cheating and then COVID. And
I mean,
we
this
know
is
already that it was all planned beforehand. So
this is one of the things about technology I love. We've never met in person. I don't know that people don't know this. I've traveled all over this country and driven right by where you live, right? You're in the middle of the woods in Arkansas, and here I am in a little cottage in a quiet city surrounded by oak trees. And you sacrificed some of your basically you lost monetization over being willing to stand up next to me
well,
and have
they
these.
won't
So
say
what
that.
you've done to help me get my message
Yeah,
out is
but
priceless.
they just said that it was basically let me find it. Go ahead and finish what you were saying and I'll be
I was done. I'm far more grateful than what you've done for me and the sacrifices you. And I don't really just mean me. It's basically the American people you're willing to stand up for. But knowing the path of your father's life, I know he wasn't a pushover. You know, he's probably a lot like my 2-star general dad, who was special forces. When you go through that survival shit and having bullets flying around your head all day and night and getting hit sometimes, it turns you into something special. And I know that that's what your father was. And I'm sorry I
well,
never met him.
I'm stubborn, like my mother was. So when I don't, get what I want or I don't see something unfold the way I think it should be, I try to go in there and see how I can get it to maybe turn over or change or something. So that's on me, that is. But this is what they sent me. This is what YouTube told me when they took me down, when they took down my monetization. They said the reason they took me down was generic or repetitive content. Okay. And that's all the stuff that anyone that follows me has seen what I've done. Chickens, art, cosplay, movie reviews, this show, Friday Night Shit Show. And then on Saturday, I play Dungeons and Dragons and roll dice. Okay. Whatever. It says content that appears generic or repetitive or does not deliver significant, creative, educational, or other value. Note, your unpaid earnings may be withheld in accordance with the YouTube Partner Program terms and application. So basically, they're saying that, my stuff doesn't offer anything. It's the same thing over and over again. So I don't know how do I fix that? What am I supposed to do? Take down all my shows, don't do any of this stuff anymore just so I can make a few dollars? Like let's say I get a $5 super chat, I might make $2.25 off of that. The rest goes to YouTube. So
Yeah, well,
but they're gonna make
censoring.
anyways. They're gonna put ads on my stuff that I don't get any money for. And I didn't get any money out of the super chats or anything that they sent me. I kept saying, if I get a check, I'll take a picture and I'll post it, because I will. I posted all the shit that they've sent me. I even posted the video that I made for them. They said send a 4-minute video showing what you do on your channel so we can make a decision whether or not you be monetized or not. So I did. I made it and I posted it so you guys can see it. Okay. Even after they said not to share it or whatever, I didn't care. I shared it anyways. Why not? It's mine. I made
Here's
it.
the truth about social media. Free speech is one thing, but it is also a crime to have a monopoly. So if you have free speech just for us, that's not really free speech. They may not be censoring you, but they're not also giving you the opportunity to compete in a meritocracy. It's more of a club thing.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of the skeleton of how this can happen to you. They don't give you the same exposure that other people get in a fair opportunity. And then all these large groups, they all hang out together, right? I don't give a shit who it is. Like, Jensen Wong and Meta and fucking all of them, and they hang out. I wish they all hated each other the way Mark Zuckerberg and Elon hate each other. That would probably be a good thing, because then you could find your niche and get in there. But even on True Social, it's not
But this is my niche.
a competition of the truth.
Everything you see on Sunday when I do my movie reviews, okay, I try to dress in theme or dress up as a character from the movie that we were reviewing, because it's fun. I enjoy it. That's what I used to do when I was in New Orleans. I used to do that kind of stuff. And promo work, I do promo work because I can dress up sometimes. Maybe they want me to be a bar wench and pass out coupons for this beer at this so-and-so bar down the street or whatever. Okay, I don't know. It depends on what they're going to offer me to dress up or whatever. But the thing is, I do that, and on Sunday, and then on Saturday, I just really play Dungeons and Dragons. I have a real thing with real dice that I roll and play, and it's a real game. So that's not, it's repetitive, because I've had my channel for over 4 years, and I've been playing for over 4 years. Okay, I can't help it. Every Saturday I play Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, whatever you want to call it. And then on Friday night, I started the Friday Night Shit Show, where I just sit around with other people and we talk about the stupid shit that's going on in our world and how it affects us. Sorry if that's repetitive, Thursday night I do shows like this. Wednesday night I would do a Replay Wednesday. It's a show like I've been on Bruce's channel for over 5.5 years. Okay, so before I ever aired or did anything on my show, I did shows with him over there. Well, I'm airing it on my channel. I have the right to do that. I'm in it. Okay, but it's not on my channel because I didn't have it. Or I was taken down because I played a video that they didn't like. So I got taken down. So then I didn't get to air anything. So then I take the recording and I play it on my channel, and I answer questions and I put trivia and stuff out. I'm allowed to do that. It's my content. Then on Monday night, I don't do it on my channel, but I play another game on another friend's channel, and I play characters on his game that he's writing. And it's like Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, same thing. And then that's what I'm doing. And then I put shorts on. I have videos of me with my chickens. I have videos of me building Legos. I have me using plastic bags to crochet. I just do tons of stuff. And if they think that's not informative and that's repetitive, then I guess it is. But that means there's nothing I can do. That means I just have to shut my channel down because my stuff is crap.
It's not you. It's not you. It's them. Okay. They build the algorithm. They know how the algorithm works.
Other people that turn on their channel, they don't even do this. This is what they do. They're a avatar the whole time, and they talk about gaming or comic books or movies or whatever else. And why is that more entertaining than the stuff that I'm offering?
Well,
how is that not competitive? Or
take a look at a picture of a phone bank in Thailand, Indonesia, Nigeria, where you get the call and it's the prince. It's a Nigerian prince, and he's going to give you for it. Okay, so these people, they have walls, warehouses, and they're all hooked up together, every phone. These are the bots, okay? Now, you can buy bot service. This is the inside part of social media. Those people, not only are they trying to get you to send them money and sending you porn and hacking your systems and all this other shit with their AI bots, they also will send you a DM and say, hey, if you'll give me $50 a month, I'll get you 50,000 followers, right? Okay, so let's say I decide to join that unethical club. What does that mean? That means every time I post something, it immediately gets 50,000 interactions, likes, and all this other shit. So how does the algorithm work? if you hit a like, that means one other person will see it, right? If you hit a reply, a repost, that does a certain amount of things. If you hit a repost with a comment, it basically gives you credit for it, which is uncool, right? But that's the way the system works. And then you have these people with 50 and 100,000 computers and a bunch of young kids running around making sure they're charged and this shit's working and running the network routers and the switches and all the other shit that's involved in that. And those are the people who are making other people famous.
Mhm.
If you buy into that and you go that unethical route, well then yeah, you can play that game too. But we've discussed it before. I don't.
What's really funny is, we'll be in a group of people and some of them are complaining they're not getting very many views or that they don't understand what they can do to get more people to follow them or to subscribe to their channel, all this kind of stuff. And I was shocked and I was so happy after when I finally got monetized, all of a sudden I'm allowed to have members and I had 6 people that wanted to become a paid member to my channel. I was like, what? Somebody likes me that much. They want to pay me so I can make them special, videos or whatever. I was just so happy. And a month had went by and I went, oh, I got to fill out my tax information. And as soon as I supplied my stuff, I got an email saying you've been demonetized for repetitive content. I was like, what the? I didn't have no idea what that meant. So, it just doesn't make any sense. And I read it and I posted it in my posts, what they sent me and what they said and, how am I supposed to fix it? They said August 9th, that's when it is, I'll have the chance to reapply. But how do you reapply after you've made changes to your channel? What change am I supposed to make? There's nothing. It's AI telling me that it's repetitive content. Well, okay. What's
I was
repetitive?
just pointing out why things like what we talk about on this show.
I know, but that's what I'm
They're
saying.
not going to just
They're
throw
not
you
giving me, they're
50,000
not
likes.
telling me anything. They're not giving me any solutions or things to do or anything. I'm not even a person. I don't even have a real person to even talk to.
Well,
So
let me
I don't
simplify that
I'll
for
never
you.
be monetized, people. They will never give it to me again because what am I supposed to do? Just get on here and sit and go,
What they want you to do is step in line. The same way they wanted you in the COVID vaccine line, right? I am so proud of our president and so proud of some of the members that I work with in Congress. Proud of you. Proud of other people who I've worked with on social media and this long-standing, fight for our liberty that we're involved in, that some people are like, fuck your line. And I'm a fuck your line person. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what you're doing, man. If I wanted to be in your fucking line, I'd already be over there, right? And I'm not getting in anybody's line. But the bottom line is that's what the social media platform algorithm tries to do. Shut your mouth and get in line. And I see you blaming yourself and throwing your hands up. It's like, just keep doing what you're doing. When you're winning the fight, no one is going to cheer for you. No one's going to cheer for you when you're winning a fight. So when you're not getting attention and all that shit's going on, that plays into how they built the algorithm. They're afraid of you. They're afraid of the truth. And that's why you're not getting out. And that's the pat on the back that you need. The pat on the back that you need is that they're fighting back. It's like, hell yeah, let's keep going. Punch me in my nose. It bleeds. I'll kick your ass, right?
Were telling me. They said that you're over the target. That's why you're
That's
getting,
right. That's
that's why I
exactly
figured
right.
I've gotten tons of death threats. And I'm just a teeny channel. I'm not even on, TV or anything like that. And I've had people say, let's see, one of them was, you need to go to another planet and commit suicide. That was one. I got one that said, it was earlier this year, and they posted, they said, happy Mother's Day, Janet. It's a shame I can't understand a word you say with Trump's dick in your mouth. Stuff like that. I get stuff like that all the time. And I still do it. And guess what? I'm paying every month for people to do that. to say that kind of shit to me. But it has gotten better because I got on YouTube and I tried to, not YouTube, but on Google, same thing. They're owned by the same people. And I asked how to keep trolls from commenting in my chat. And a thing came up and said that there's a thing that you can go click a couple buttons on YouTube when you're setting up. And what it does is you for chat, in the chat, and they have to be subscribed for 5 to 10 minutes. You just set it before they can say anything. So, like on the Friday Night Shit Show, mostly, when somebody I know is a troll, because usually there's a little phone next to their thing and the thing that I'm on my side, I can see whether they're on a phone or they're not on a phone or whatever, you know what I mean? And they'll post something. And I know I've never seen them before. See like a baby girl, aw, thank you. I see her a lot, so I know she's
always so sweet. Her comments are the
I know
sweetest.
she's a doll. And then I got Screaming Raven, and he comes in a lot. So if I saw him, I would know. I know him. I know them because I've seen their stuff in the chat, right? In my chat a lot. But if I see something that I don't ever see, and it usually has a bunch of numbers at the very end because they just made this account or whatever. Okay. They get in there and they say something like, you're a racist bitch or whatever, you're a cunt or whatever nasty shit they want to say. I'll put it up on the screen and say, look, they wanted to say this to me so bad that they waited 10 whole minutes sitting there waiting breathlessly to say something that nasty to me for 10 minutes because I set that on my thing. So
I'm a total smart ass to those people. I'll say shit like, how you feel about me is none of my business. Take that shit over there and go fuck
they
yourself.
waited 10 whole minutes just to say this. So I put it up on the screen. Hey, everybody, this is so-and-so, and he wants you to know this. And so I'll make sure I highlight it,
Yeah,
but,
damn right.
It's really scary. I mean, it really is scary that there's that many people out there, and I can understand ICE, the risk that they go through, because I'm nobody. I'm not even out and amongst trying to save people's lives or anything out there. I'm just on a keyboard doing videos like this, making live streams and stuff. But, that's a risk, it's a risk today. So like when we had all those people being doxxed a while back, and then people were ordering pizzas to be delivered to their house and having them have to pay for it or whatever, that type of stuff I wouldn't pay. But I went to my police department and gave them my information and said, hey, if somebody calls you and says this address, whatever, call my number and make sure, because, it's probably a prank, more than likely. So, it's
Yeah,
sad.
we've been up against a lot of dirty shit, man. Swatting people and all that. God
But
damn.
all it does is just make me more pissed. Like I said, I'm stubborn as hell, like my mother was.
Yeah,
And,
you ain't getting in
just
line.
make
What I just said. You're
you
not. Yeah.
asshole.
Fuck you. I'm
Does
not
this
getting
make
in
you
your
feel better? Yeah. You know what I mean? I can do
I ain't
that.
getting in your fucking line, motherfucker. Go fuck
So
yourself.
yeah, and that's where I'm at. I just
Yeah,
do
I'm
it
all
because
for individualism, right? Culture goes through all this shit. We need to get off. We've been on now. It's coming up on 3.5 hours, right?
I know. I'm sorry, but thank you guys, and hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful Friday
Thanks,
tomorrow.
everybody, and you, Janet. Thank
And
you.
I'll talk to you guys later.
Good night, everybody.
If you enjoy my content, feel free to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned so you won't miss out on anything. If you want me to stay independent, you can support me with the link in my bio at Buy Me a Coffee. You can also follow me on my other platforms. Thank you for listening.